Good morning, and welcome to the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be followed by an invocation given by our chaplain, Commissioner White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask that everyone please stand at this time for the pledge and invocation. We will begin with the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, you have given us the land on this earth as a finite resource, not only for us here today, but for all the time of the earth. So I pray that you will guide this board, our staff, and stakeholders as we make important decisions on this important resource. I pray that you will help us to reach a place where we strike a delicate balance between private property rights and the broader good of the community. And as always, I pray for members of our armed forces and first responders that you will guide them and keep them safe each and every day. And I continue to pray for peace, particularly in Ukraine. I ask for these blessings in your heavenly name. Amen.
Amen. And so at this point, we can take a roll call while I switch a little bit of the technology around.
Exactly.
Overman?
Here.
Cullen?
Here.
Hagan?
Here.
Kemp?
Here.
Myers?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
White?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Good morning. Yes, as ready as I'm going to be right this second. Okay. Good morning. We've done the rail call, and it appears as though we have a quorum, so we are in good shape. With that, I will recognize Mr. Grady for withdrawals, continuance, and remands.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, for the record, Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services. We do have two changes, corrections, additions to the published agenda. The first is on page regarding agenda item E2 on page 8. This application, PRS 22-0618. The additional party records have been added to the backup, and those were provided to the Commissioners. The second change on the published agenda is on page 10, item F3, application major mod, application 22-103. The applicant's Nick Pilardo, Heritage Stations Capital Group, LLC. The applicant is requesting a remand of this application to the June 13th, 2022 zoning hearing, master hearing. Those are the two changes. I'll now go through the withdrawals and continuances on the published agenda beginning on page 3 of the agenda. The first one's item A1, rezoning PD 18-0996. Staff is requesting this item be continued to the June 7th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. Item A2, rezoning PD 21-0110. The applicant is requesting this item be continued to the June 7th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners meeting. Item A3, special use application LE 21-12224. This application has been continued by the applicant as a matter of right to the June 7th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. Item A4, major mod application 22-0087. The applicant is requesting this item be remanded to the June 13, 2022 zoning hearing master hearing. Item A5, PRS 22-0151. This application is withdrawn by the applicant. Item A6, PRS 22-0429. This application is out of order to be heard and has been continued to the June 7th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. Item A7, PRS 22-0523. This application has been continued by the applicant as a matter of right to the June 7th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. Item A8, CDD 22-0551. Staff is requesting this item be continued to the June 7th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. And item A9, vacation 21-0013. This petition has been continued to the June 7th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting. That concludes all changes and withdrawals and continuance.
Move the changes.
We have a motion by Commissioner White, a second by Commissioner Myers. Please indicate your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent, thank you very much. And may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kemp, second by Commissioner White. And if we'll indicate your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent, thank you very much. If you have an item that was on the consent agenda, it has been acted upon, with the exception of the items that were pulled from consent, if any. And with that, we will take into consideration,
Point of order.
certainly.
Yes, since we were told in the changes that we'd have, that an applicant for F3 has asked for a remand, but I do see several citizens have shown up to provide testimony to that item. Maybe in consideration of those citizens, we could decide that item so they don't have to wait until F3, or when do we take that up?
We Commissioner, that was added to the change list, so the vote that was just taken on the changes to the agenda included the remand of that item to the June ZHM hearing.
Oh, okay, so the citizens have been told about that?
Well, we're going to tell them right now, the board just voted on it. We'll let them know that that item will be heard at the June ZHM.
Can I ask a couple of questions about that while I'm here?
Certainly.
All right. One, you know, we got a notice last night that the applicant was going to ask for a remand, and this one did have a lot of citizens involved.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any way to get the word to the citizens ahead of time before they showed up this morning?
So on a change like that is a discretionary change by the board, we do put it on the addendum, which we publish, but we wait till the action is taken before telling people, say, not show up. So.
Right. Secondly, in this particular item, there was a lot of written letters to the case file of opposition, all of them. And each one, almost every single one, was accompanied by a 3-page copy of the zoning hearing notice. And so there's like dozens of citizen letters, like, I don't know, 40, or maybe more. And there's this 3-page copy in front of each one, so that there's, well, what would that be, 120 pages of duplicated 3-page hearing notice. I've never seen that before. And I mean, unless those citizen letters, for some reason, each came in stapled to their own copy of that, it seems like it's a clerical error. And so if the census is going to be remanded, I would like to ask that all of that extraneous duplicated paperwork be weeded out, because it makes it very hard for us looking through there to actually get at the citizen letter. You look like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, Commissioner, we typically do not add anything to the party of record materials that are sent in. We don't take anything from it or add anything to it. We'll look into these letters to see if
Every single one has a 3-page copy of the same zoning hearing notice and what to do, you know, the thing you pick up at in the lobby at the zoning hearing. So there's like 120, I don't know, or more, over 100 pages of this extra stuff we're having to peel through. So see if that can't be weeded out, and why that would have happened, and see if it can't be weeded out before it comes back. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you. And for the citizens, for here and now, for the citizens that have shown up live this morning in the library, Mr. Gormley, I'm going to just ask you to have one of your staff members at the library stand up in the room, raise their hand, make themselves available for any citizens that might have questions on next steps. Where do they go from here in order to be heard in person?
Okay, will do.
Yes, it does appear as though there are at least 3 people signed up to speak regarding that F3 item. So from the list that I have gotten this morning, just before we got started, so I appreciate that. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. In order for this to be on the addendum, what kind of notice do they have to give that they're requesting remand? How much prior to our meeting?
So there's no time frame prior to the meeting that is a limit on when the applicant can request a remand. There is a remand as a matter of right that's done particularly when there's going to be changes made to the application. Otherwise, it's generally to the discretion of the board to remand or not.
Because it does, again, see, I mean, we have even on our regular agenda items, have, the 24-hour, not a 24-hour, but we have this notice period the day before. And it just, we've had this issue before where we put citizens through this, and it seems very unfair to citizens that they're in this position. So I'm just, I don't know, maybe we can put that on our list of, I don't know about the legalities or, in terms of doing that, but it just seems very unfair. Or maybe I don't know, somehow everyone has to get notice that here they are, they're following this case, they're doing everything, they've gone to the zoning hearing masters meeting, they file, they act on this, and then they show up in person, which is just a huge deal. And I'm just wondering about what the possibilities are with that, because I'd be pretty upset if I were a citizen and I were in that place.
Well, let me ask a question. We considered and approved the changes. The changes was to accept the remand. So if that were the case and that were a concern, I would imagine proving the changes would indicate that we reject the change of the remand, if that's what.
Well, I understand that,
If that's an
except
option.
I think we have to have a second here maybe to look and see, what the opposition is, and think about that, or just have some notice. I'm just trying, of course we can do that, but, again, we're making it more difficult to solve and more difficult to have citizens be engaged. This is like a really big barrier. So yes, we can do that, but I'm just wondering now if we can think about this. I don't know if there's any, right now, anything to be done, but we do, I think it's a huge ordeal for people to make it down to county center. Not as much as if they're there virtually, but even that is like they have to mark the date down, sit and take time off. I mean, and these are people that have already come and, stated something at the zoning hearing master. And then, there's been time to do this all along. Since the zoning hearing master's meeting, the time for the applicant to, deal with this rather than a remand at the last minute. So I'm just wondering if we can, put some limits on that. I don't know if legally that's permissible or what we can do, but I'm just raising that at this time because I think it's relevant.
Commissioner Myers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, all the commissioners have made excellent points, but I would like to ask the county attorney's office, the same policy that we have in place with a 24-hour notice that you cannot add anything, I think this should apply as well, because we set policy. That's what we do. And so if we can set that policy in place for this, so we would not have citizens coming in and they should receive notice of the meeting if it's a change, what have you. So if we can look into that and bring that back at our next meeting, if that's possible.
We could certainly coordinate, Mr. Gormley and I, on a potential change to the policy and look at options. maybe in the upcoming cycle of amendments that we'll be looking at. Not sure if Mr. Gormley has any comments otherwise, but it's something that could be evaluated and potentially amended.
Okay. I would like for the county attorney's office and Mr. Gormley to look into that to see and bring us something back at the next meeting.
Excellent, thank you, Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Cohen, you're recognized.
I agree with that. That was what I was going to.
Is that
That's
all?
it, yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Yes, and I've been on the receiving end of this as a citizen multiple times. And I can tell you that there have been more than one time that the citizens have suspected that it's been used as a strategic tool to burn out the citizens' opposition. Because, you know, once you do go through all this and park and take a day off work and come here, you're a lot less likely to come back. So I also, though, understand that on any of these zoning cases, we might make a decision to remand for one reason or another right here, right now. So there's that. But it does seem to me that, Commissioner Myers, you're getting at something good with since we almost always approve the request for a remand, since it's pretty routine to do it that way. If there were a time limit where, look, and as Commissioner Kemp said, you've got this much time between the zoning hearing, weeks. You've got weeks. You can see how much, sometimes month, how much opposition there is if you want to remand and have a do-over. Figure that out maybe 3 days ahead and give staff time to email every single citizen who's in the case file with written opposition, or all the parties of record who you can, and say, they've asked for and been granted a remand, and it'll be June whatever. So I think we're on to something, and maybe have this all be part of our looking at the process.
Thank you. Something I also want to ask, because it's been remanded and it's not on the agenda, but there are individuals that would have been sworn in to speak in opposition to it. Is there anything that prohibits, other than it's not on the agenda, allowing those citizens to provide their opposition testimony today, seeing as that they just got notice that the item has been remanded to a future date?
I would advise that we not have any citizen comments. It's already been acted on, and at this point, you know, this is a quasi-judicial process, so it's different than regular board public comment, and that quasi-judicial testimony needs to take place in the context of the actual item, which has now been remanded.
Okay. Okay, so maybe remands need to be considered as part of the regular agenda when we get to the item if they don't give 24-hour notice, because that does put citizens in a position where they are unable to speak on something that was considered a quasi-judicial hearing, and they've been offered an opportunity to speak to it, and they are not being offered that now. So to Commissioner Myers' point, it would seem that anyone in any kind of judicial hearing, whether it's quasi-judicial or not, would be provided adequate notice on whether or not they need to show or not. So I do believe that it would be wise to bring something back to allow our citizens to be heard when they are notified that they are supposed to show up. So thank you for the discussion. I look forward to seeing the recommendations in the future. And with that, we don't have items that pulled from consent at this point. So I will ask the clerk to administer the oath now for those items that are remaining on the agenda. So if you'll please stand.
Please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. Or, not repeat, sorry. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. If you're planning, oh, never mind. Let me make these following items. Don't see, do we have any C items today?
No C items.
No C items. Okay, so we don't have any C items. so we don't necessarily need to do that. But before we open up the public hearing, I'd like to take the opportunity to remind all the speakers, including those participating in person at Saunders Library, and those participating remotely, of our meeting participation process. When it's your turn to speak, I'll recognize you as speaker, and for those participating in person at Saunders Library, please adhere to the mask requirements and respect social distancing guidelines, remain seated, and please do not approach the podium to speak until I've called you, and I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. So we're now on Section E of the public hearing, and Mr. Grady, you're recognized.
Thank you. Me and Brian Grady, Development Services. The first item in the E portion of the agenda is E1. This is PRS application 22-0611. The applicant is Jorge Lopez. The parcel is located at 6925 21st Avenue. In the East Lake Orient Park area. Commissioners, this proposal is a request to basically reconfigure the layout of the PD to modify the building access and stormwater locations as part of revised location for the access to East 21st Avenue for the project. Real quickly, I'll show you the existing plan and the proposed plan to show you those changes. Again, this is the existing plan. The project's approved for 20 units, and again, the unit count is not changing. As you'll notice, the access to the project is at East 131st Avenue in this location. The proposed change modifies the access, so it's going through this parcel here on the west side. It's zoned RDC 12 for similar uses that's permitted in the PD, and then reconfiguring the layout, as you can see, with relocating the buildings and the stormwater. Staff does find this approval and is recommending approval, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is the applicant present to do a presentation?
Sorry. Good morning. Chris Mears with Native Engineering, representing the applicant. So I wanted to just take a quick moment and emphasize some of the elements that were part of the staff report. I appreciate the staff's recommendation for approval. The changes that we wanted to make, I know Mr. Grady had pointed out some elements regarding access. The current PD, the RZ 84-0300, has more restrictive setbacks than the surrounding zoning RDC 12. The side setbacks for RDC 12 are only 5 feet, while the current and the proposed PD plans proposed 15 feet for the west side setback. We're proposing the same front and rear setbacks as RDC 12 zoning allows and as currently permitted by the PD. I wanted to point out as well, I'll put this on the screen. This is in the staff report. This shows the surrounding zoning, which is all RDC 12 around the site, except for this parcel here, which is CG. Also, part of the staff report shows the future land use, R12, that surrounds this site. The density that we're proposing is the same as what would be allowed under the RDC 12 and is allowed by the current PD. We're not proposing to change any density. One of the points that we wanted to make, and the reason for the change, is we wanted to modify the building locations. The current plan shows the building locations that are more interior to the site. Zoom out on that just a tad if you need to. This is the current PD plan showing the building locations. Sorry, I guess I could have done that. Showing the current building locations that are more interior to the site. You can see that the parking is on the east side exterior. What you see as far as the green circles are existing trees today. Those trees are fairly large now, heritage size grand oaks. We wanted to modify the site plan in order to preserve these trees. The radii you see around there are more of a protective radius that we implement on site plans in order to preserve the trees and maintain the proper setback in order to prevent disturbance to the root zones of the trees. You can see that the trees that are there now would be impacted by the current PD zoning or building locations. So our site plan now changes the building locations. This site plan shows those same protective radius around the trees and more setback away from those trees. So during construction as well, we anticipate a more minimal impact to the larger trees that are there. Again, this PD was from some time ago, so those trees either weren't there at those locations when the property was rezoned, or they've obviously grown up since then. So there needs to be some reconfiguration of the site plan in order to preserve these trees. In addition, we propose to relocate the stormwater pond that was shown in the original PD. This goes back to the original PD plan. This is the location of the pond here at the northeast corner of the site. We're proposing to move that pond to the south end of the site. And the reason for that is not only to help, again, preserve the trees that are there, but to maintain the current drainage patterns that are on site. The site drains from the northwest to the southeast, so it makes sense to put the pond at the low end of the site where the site typically discharges. This is a map of the Swiftmud contours. It's a contour aerial. And you can see that the higher contours are up on the northwest corner of the site with the lower contours at the southeast corner. So this change maintains the natural drainage pattern and stormwater discharge point and decreases the amount of earthwork required during construction, and obviously reducing the earthwork activities and earth disturbing activities around the existing trees will help preserve those trees. The proposed change to the site access driveway, as Mr. Grady had pointed out, increases the separation from Spillers Avenue on the north side of East 21st Avenue. It basically bisects the 21st Avenue at a point between the adjacent roadways on the east and west. I'm going to move over to the general development plan that was submitted with the application to better point out where the existing roads are. So we have Spillers to the east, and then Anthony to the west. So we're basically bisecting those 2 points and providing the access point through a currently RDC 12 zoned piece that wasn't part of the original PD. One other change we wanted to make with moving the buildings the way we did was to provide better circulation through the site to allow emergency service vehicles to enter and exit the site. So they'll obviously come in, and the fire trucks or the larger trucks that need to get access to the back buildings have a way to turn around. We also provided the dumpster in a location where solid waste can get easy access to perform their services and then better exit the site. We feel like this plan, because it moves the buildings to the exterior, provides better circulation. Obviously, we wanted to make it a point to preserve the trees that are there on site. We did propose some building dimension modifications, but maintained a very minor increase from the originally approved PD building dimensions, mainly just to make the buildings more marketable in today's market. This PD, I think, was rezoned back in the 80s. So it was a very minor increase, again, less than 10%. Those are the key points of the application. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. You do have a few more minutes, but if that is, that's the end of your presentation, we'll ask for, although I don't have anyone signed up for proponent or opponent testimony at this point, is there anyone in Saunders Library would like to speak to proponent testimony?
No one's in the audience.
Anyone for opponent testimony?
No one in the audience.
Thank you very much. And for Development Services, amended recommendations, you have 5 minutes.
No further recommendations, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Assuming there was no opponent or need for rebuttal, I'll take comments.
Move
and
approval.
Move
Second.
approval, second. Excellent. We have a motion by Commissioner Kemp, a second by Commissioner Cohen. And I just want to thank the applicant for making these changes. This past week, I attended the REACH conference that talked about resilient communities. And the impact of having trees rooted in an area not only helps with water retention, flooding, as well as cooling of the buildings and the communities and the parking lots. So it was a recommended action, so thank you very much for taking these and making these changes. And with that, please indicate your vote.
Motion carried 7-0.
Excellent, thank you very much. We're on to E2, PRS 220618. Mr. Grady.
Yes, the next item is agenda item E2 is PRS 22-0618. The applicant is Lennar Homes. It's a request for a minor modification of existing PD. The specific request is to modify the type of access to Wilson Circle, which is on the north end of the project, from a full access to emergency access. Michelle Heinrich with County staff is going to provide a brief overview of the request.
Ms. Heinrich, you're recognized.
Good morning, Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. As Mr. Grady stated, this is a minor modification request to PD 98-0917, as most recently modified by Major Mod 210877 last year. The site is located east of Dale Mabry Highway and west of Gerasi Road. The project is located in both the urban and rural service areas and within the Lutz Community Plan area. Most recently, under the major mod approved last year, the project was approved for 198 single-family detached units within 3 villages. Also approved were access point modifications, which resulted in 2 access points on Crystal Lake Road, which is along the southern boundary, 1 access point on Gerasi Road, which is along the eastern boundary, 1 access point on Wilson Circle, which is along the northern boundary, and 1 cross-access point along the west. Today's request is to change the Wilson Circle access point from a full access point to an emergency-only access point. Staff's review of the request found the following. The subject area in the PD, which is Village AB, will have a net density of 3.2 units per acre and is located primarily in the Res 1 future land use category. The adjacent property to the north is zoned RSC4 and within the Res 2 future land use category. The northern area is developed with half-acre lots producing a density of 2 units per acre. Densities between 2 to 4 units per acre are classified as suburban land use categories by the comprehensive plan. Therefore, staff does not view now or under last year's major mod as being incompatible and therefore would not call for no connection between the 2 projects. This project is serving as a transition between the more intense zoning categories and future land use categories found at the southwest, and the project has provided access along multiple PD boundaries. However, staff does not view these connections as promoting high volumes of non-community and community traffic to Wilson Circle, given the existing roadway network. While the Wilson Circle access will not serve as the project's primary access, this does not discount the value of this access point for project residents and the county's goals for connectivity to reduce the use of arterial roadways for local trips, to provide multiple travel routes, and to provide direct travel routes. The LDC specifically directs projects to connect with abutting properties, connect with public roads, and provide multiple and direct connections with the local street system. Removal of this access would violate those requirements. Transportation staff notes in the report that the project is adjacent to properties within the North Dale Mabry overlay, which is comprised of activity centers to provide local and office uses to the Lutz community, and a parkway buffer along Dale Mabry to enable pedestrian and bicycle travel. Both Wilson Circle and Gerasi Road connect to Dale Mabry Highway. Additionally, the overlay's community activity center is located north of the Gerasi Road Dale Mabry intersection. Transportation staff found vehicular and pedestrian trip length to the community activity center from the subject PD increased from 0.57 miles with the Wilson Circle access to between 1.81 and 1.94 miles without it. Transportation staff also notes an adjacent charter school to the immediate west of the PD, which fronts Dale Mabry Highway. In looking at various pedestrian routes for school children, transportation staff found that with the Wilson Circle access point provided, a shorter distance and less travel time on Dale Mabry Highway was resulted with that access point provided, going from 0.81 miles to 1.21 miles. Lastly, Planning Commission staff finds the request to be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. The request is also inconsistent with the Lutz Community Plan, which seeks to, quote, create interconnected roadways that link communities together. Based on these considerations, staff does not support the request, and we're available for any questions.
Thank you very much. With that, we will hear from the applicant.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cami Corbett with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson, representing the applicant Lennar Homes. And I do have a PowerPoint. Next slide. And we're here this morning, as Michelle indicated, to request to the removal of the full access point onto Wilson Circle. We are honoring a commitment that we made to the community when we were here last November, when they were upset to learn that the board had approved the project, but yet had left the full access to Wilson Circle on the site plan and a part of the approval. We are here to try to help them protect their existing rural neighborhood and preserve the rural character of Wilson Circle. Next slide. This is a picture of Wilson Circle looking east. Next slide. Looking southwest, you can see this is a 2-lane rural road with no shoulders and no sidewalks. And this is very much a characteristic of the rural roadways inside the rural service area, which this area of Wilson Circle is, notwithstanding that it might have densities that are suburban in nature. This is very much a rural community. Next slide. We are just changing this one condition. Next slide. And the site plan. Next slide. And we are providing interconnectivity. We are leaving condition 16, which permits pedestrian access. The community supports the pedestrian access to Wilson Circle, and we're not asking to change condition 16, which permits that pedestrian access. Likewise, this is not a one-way in, one-way out subdivision situation. We have 4 interconnections, 2 connecting to the urban part of the county and 2 connecting to the rural part of the county. Next slide. We think your community design element supports limiting access, which emphasizes the distinct choices in lifestyle of urban, suburban, and rural. And pattern and design should enhance those lifestyles. The Lennar community is a more suburban community, and we do have the interconnections to the more suburban part of the county. But Wilson Circle is a very rural portion of the county, and we think that the full access is unnecessary there, and that the lack of having a full access there would provide that bridge between the urban, suburban, and rural lifestyle. Next slide. Also in that design element, you have development pattern characteristics, and section 1.4 for rural pattern characteristics talks about subdivisions, typical subdivision standards not being appropriate for the rural area. It specifically calls for less interconnectedness and very few pedestrian facilities. The plan also recognizes the tightly knit nature of some of these rural communities, and the Wilson Circle community is clearly a tightly knit community. Next slide. Likewise, you have additional goals that, again, preserve that rural lifestyle and also encourages the use of planned developments to address the impacts of having higher density next to lower density residential communities, and it strongly encourages neighborhood input. Next slide. And the citizen testimony at the last major modification was very clear. We had both opponents and proponents speaking about this application, but all of them were united in their opposition to the connection to Wilson Circle. They felt it would be very negative, especially for families, and would negatively impact where their community walks, bikes, and socializes. In some, they didn't think that there was any reason for a connection to Wilson Circle given all of the other interconnections. And with that, I'd like to ask Steve Henry to come up and address you regarding the transportation staff report.
Good morning. Steve Henry, Lincoln Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa 33607. There's really two reasons why we want to eliminate the access to Wilson Circle, and I've put up on the Elmo a graphic. The two are, one is the location of the access, and as you can see, I have indicated on the arrow here that the access for this property, given the limited frontage, is right at the curve within the Wilson Circle. And the second is the status of Wilson Circle. As you can see here, this is looking from the access, looking east. You can see the curve that is in Wilson Circle. And then this is looking west. And as you can see, as far as pedestrians, they're walking in the street. When you look at the staff report, they reference the LDC, specifically section 60201, in which it says local street system shall be local and comprehensive, and a pattern of local streets should be designed to satisfy the needs of visitors, delivery trucks, and emergency vehicles. In our opinion, we do not think that Wilson Circle, given the constraints, the curves on it, is appropriate for delivery trucks for this project. In addition, they reference the Land Development Code, section 50302, provide multiple direct connections in the local street system between local destinations such as parks, schools, and shopping centers. And I'll go back to the Elmo here. When you look at Wilson Circle, there is no direct connection to parks or schools or shopping center. Everybody has to go out onto Dale Mabry Highway. So by connecting to Wilson Circle, you're not satisfying that condition in which you would not have to get onto Dale Mabry. Any trip that wants to go to commercial or parks or schools has to get onto Dale Mabry Highway, even if they have the access to Wilson Circle. In addition, they reference the comprehensive plan and say encourage walk-to-school programs to increase safety. And I'll get to that in a minute in another one of their comments. In addition, they talk about the North Dale Mabry and the proximity to the activity center and the reduced trip length if you use Wilson Circle. And I want to go to the graphic here. This illustrates the connection of Wilson Circle to Dale Mabry Highway. This is Wilson Circle here. This is Jurassic Road. As you can see, Wilson Circle is intersecting Dale Mabry at about 200 feet south of Jurassic Road in the right turn lane. And this is a graphic that shows a street view of that connection. You can see the proximity of the sidewalk to the right turn lane. So the idea is, do you have the traffic go up to Wilson Circle and make a right within that right turn lane for Jurassic Road, or do you have them go to a signalized intersection of Exciting Idlewild and Dale Mabry Highway? And so from our standpoint, from a safety standpoint, we think it's a better solution to have them go to Dale Mabry and Exciting Idlewild. The reality is, if you're going to the retail, you're going to the schools, you're getting on Dale Mabry. We're not eliminating trips on Dale Mabry. They're going to be there whether it's Wilson Circle or whether it's Exciting Idlewild. We think that using the signalized intersection is a better option that was put in as a part of the overall development for the Jurassic parcel. And finally, they talk about the pedestrians and reducing the trips or vehicle trips to the schools. And again, if you look at this, from my standpoint, if I had children here, I would not have them walking to school on Wilson Circle and then onto Dale Mabry, as I showed you the sidewalk and the proximity of that to there. So again, the reality is, if you're going to the schools or the shopping, you're going to get on Dale Mabry. It's a question of where you access Dale Mabry. In our opinion, given that the status of Wilson Circle, the better option is to not have that access, have it as emergency access, and to access without the access to Wilson Circle. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all of the applicant testimony? Presentation?
Yes, I was going to indicate, yes, this is Cami Corbett again for the record. And with that, that concludes our presentation.
Excellent. Thank you very much. With that, we have set aside 15 minutes for proponent and opponent testimony. I do have one person signed up to provide support, and that is Brian Flynn. Is Brian Flynn present?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Brian Flynn. I reside with my family at 2608 Wilson Circle, and I'm also the Secretary of the Wilson Lakes Neighborhood Association. But today, I come before you as the father of 2 young daughters. I want to see them grow up safely in our neighborhood where they can walk and bike to their friends' houses, whether that be in Wilson Lakes neighborhood or the new Pearl Lake neighborhood. I have submitted testimony in writing that details why less traffic protects public health and safety and also fosters interaction between neighbors. I believe this modification is consistent with Land Development Code 060201-11 with the goal to limit intersections within neighborhoods and therefore reduce the risk of traffic accidents. It is also consistent with the Lutz Community Plan, which promotes pedestrian paths and trails for neighborhood interconnection. I ask that you please approve this minor modification, preserving what makes our community special and to us, and also allows the new residents the opportunity to experience that which makes our neighborhood unique. Thank you for your time, and I stand by ready to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals signed up for proponent or opponent testimony at Saunders Library? I have no one signed up virtually.
There's another person coming to the podium.
Good morning. I want to thank the developer for following through on their promise to try and help us with this issue.
Ma'am, could you state your name, please?
My name is Anne Marie Merritt. I live at 2603 Wilson Circle.
Thank you. You may proceed.
There are speed bumps on all the roads around this development. That is a key fact because the speed bump is meant to deter the speeder to slow them down. We already know that we have an issue with speeding traffic because we are between Dale Mabry and Route 41. That fact is key in this issue because people in cars are not interested in developing community. They just want to get on their way faster. I do not blame them. I just do not want to see 200 or 400 of them trying to get to Dale Mabry, possibly faster down our nice, quiet Wilson Circle Road. They could use exciting Idlewild Boulevard. It has the name, it has the appeal, it has a light. It's actually much more convenient, and it is a good idea. So I'm here because I don't want the access to Wilson Circle to be anything but an emergency exit with walking access. The point on Wilson Circle that you envision as an access point for connected communities has a house with a long driveway. There's a field that has beautiful leafy trees behind it. That field has had 8 cows in it for the many years that I have lived here. Where you see an intersection with concrete and happy cars, we're used to seeing 8 placid cows, a field, leafy trees, sometimes a horse, and sandhill cranes. It is at this bend on a road that you want to give 200 homes with 200 to 400 cars access to daily travel that road. You're reducing our nice, quiet neighborhood to an intersection in the overdevelopment of the area. I live on Wilson Circle and Jurassic Road at the intersection. It's 0.4 of a mile to Dale Mabry going down to Jurachi. It is 0.8 of a mile if you go down Wilson Circle. So thankfully, and I apologize to everybody on Jirachi, most people choose to go Jirachi. And in my house, I can hear engines revving of trucks, jeeps, lawn care guys, and motorcycles, as the 20% of them who travel that road, for some reason, like to rev their engines in order to speed over the speed bumps. And while I walk down Jirachi, I'm dodging those cars, and they let me know that they're doing me a favor by not hitting me. Others are just nice, normal, guilty people-looking speeders. If the developer is asking for emergency-only access to Wilson Circle, and our neighborhood is asking for only emergency access, then I'm really not sure why we are actually here. Put in emergency-only access onto Wilson Circle, put walking gates on either side of it, and the community that is being built can come and enjoy our little road, and we will join them as well. We want people to walk through our neighborhood, not speed through it on another destination. Also, you guys approved that little light at Sun Lake, so nobody is ever getting across to go back to that school because we can't get across right there. We're supposed to drive down to the Dunkin' Donuts to make a giant U-turn to come back. Anybody trying to get to that school down the road from us is going to be better off going to the Idlewild Baptist Church entrance and then taking a right because the school will be on the right side. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Are there any other testimony to be offered? Seeing none, we can hear from...
Actually, there's one more person.
There's one more person? Okay. Please approach the podium, please. And then state your name.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Bob Wilson. I live at 2617 Wilson Circle, within about 5 houses from the intersection of Wilson Circle and the proposed access point. I want to thank Lennar Homes for their proposal. In my opinion and my wife's opinion, we are very much in support of this proposal. We do not want a full vehicular access at that point. You've been provided photographs and detailed information about all the statistics. I'm here to tell you that it's just plain and simple a safety issue. We have, as you saw, there's no sidewalks, there's no lighting in that corner, it's a blind curve, and there are no parks. So the only place that we as residents have to walk our children and our dogs and even is that street. There's no place for us to get out of the way. There's no place for us to go. By adding all these full-time vehicles coming and going out of that housing development, it's just going to increase the possibility of an accident or an injury. And I don't think anyone wants to see that happen. So I'm here to say that for safety purposes, for the residents of that community that are already there and all the children that use that street, we are in favor of the proposal. And we hope that you also vote in favor of Lennar Homes' proposal to make it a emergency-only vehicular access point. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other testimony?
My name is Ken Nash. My house is one of the closest houses to that entrance. I'm against the entrance there. And our opposition has been put very well. I just wanted to add that this is a neighborhood that there are a lot of people. The only time we have to walk, or the only time it's cool enough to walk, is at night. So even at night, if you go out there, even 10 o'clock at night, you'll find people walking their dogs or taking a walk out there, because that might be the only time the weather's appropriate, and it might be the only time they have time to take a walk there. And I don't see any reason to even have an emergency exit there as far as I'm concerned. On that particular corner there, my neighbor's fence was hit one night years ago. I had my mailbox knocked down years ago. We never know who did it, but so this is a neighborhood that's got a blind curve there, and so it doesn't need to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other testimony? Is there any other testimony?
No one in the audience.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Today, we also have the opportunity for the applicant to offer a rebuttal.
Cammie Corbett, again, for the record, just would like to urge you to reconsider the decision to require the full access point. I think you've heard plenty of testimony and evidence today that would support that decision, and we respectfully request that you remove that condition or modify the condition to make it emergency access only.
Excellent. Thank you very much. With that, I'll recognize the board for conversation and a motion. Commissioner Hagan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to first of all thank Lennar for honoring their commitment and doing everything they can to protect the existing neighborhood and their rural lifestyle. This is one of the rare occasions where the developer and residents support the same request, and what do you know, staff opposes it. I understand why, because staff always recommends interconnectivity, and this board usually supports connectivity, but as we heard from the applicant, this isn't a typical case. There are 4 interconnections, and I'm going to support the citizens because I know that if I lived there, I wouldn't want the additional traffic coming through either. So I'm going to move approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hagan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you. I understand why each and every neighborhood wants to keep traffic out of their neighborhood and keep the public streets that run through their neighborhood just for their own use. We have this almost every land use meeting. We have neighborhoods coming to us asking us to close off the public streets that all the taxpayers pay for to keep them for the private use of this neighborhood and that neighborhood. But we have the hard decision. We have to make policy that applies to everyone, whether you're a neighborhood that can mobilize and come in and ask for your streets to be private, or whether you can't. We have to either stand for connectivity or just let each neighborhood come down here, every land use hearing, and ask us to keep traffic out of their neighborhood, off the public streets in their neighborhood. Or we can change our plans. We can change our comprehensive plan and our codes and policies that are meant to deal with traffic congestion by providing a connected grid with alternative routes. And we can decide to change our rules to make more congestion on the main streets by closing off all the side streets that give the traffic alternative ways to flow. If you have privately maintained roads in a gated community, you can keep people out. But if all the taxpayers are paying for the maintenance of your road, and we know how expensive that is, and we know how much it takes to maintain these roads, then they've got to be open to the public to take alternative routes. Connectivity, open grid patterns is a huge tool for managing traffic congestion. Everybody complains about traffic congestion, but they want to go the alternative routes, but they don't want anybody coming through their neighborhood. So we have to be fair. We have to be fair to everyone, and that's what our staff is trying to do. Besides, the connectivity allows neighborhoods to connect to goods and services with routes that are short enough to walk and bike to schools and to the shopping areas, and that gets more cars off the road. So it's another tool for reducing congestion there. Our staff has done extensive analysis. They're taking the hard stand of providing many good reasons for recommending that we stick to our goals of alleviating traffic congestion in this way. And on page 11 of the backup, man, they listed tons. This is not even a gray area. They listed very clear reasons why this is a case where we really need that connectivity. The Lutz Community Plan seeks to create interconnected roadways, not just pedestrian and bicycle paths or emergency paths. The Lutz Community Plan seeks to, quote, create interconnected roadways to link the community together. And so transportation staff is objecting due to noncompliance with the Land Development Code, the comprehensive plan, and the additional travel time and distance that everyone's got to go through if you don't have this little connection to reach commercial uses, office uses, and schools. Closing this connection adds a half a mile to the school children's walk to get to the local Sun Lake Academy. That's enough to put them in a car trip instead of a walk. Transportation staff or bike trip. Transportation staff analyze the distances traveled and the use of various roadways with and without the connection. And without the connection, if we close that connection, drivers and pedestrians are limited to reach the community activity center to the north by traveling south and using Crystal Lake Road and Jurassic Road to Dale Mabry or existing Idlewild to North Dale Mabry. But what happens is the trip length is increased for people wanting to get to their community center from half a mile about to almost 2 miles, 1.94 miles. Half a mile or 2 mile. Well, you can walk half a mile, you can bicycle half a mile, it's 2 miles you're getting in your car. And that's not what the Lutz community plan envisioned. And the traffic staff found the traffic did I say what the school is? Yeah. And traffic staff found that traffic impacts won't overwhelm the road. We've had our staff do our own analysis. Only 15% of the trips will go there instead of going around on Jurassic Road. But if we force the traffic onto Jurassic Road, that would overburden that road, which is already at a level of Service C. So, you know, we're hearing from the people who don't want it to be on Wilson, but I'm sure there's people who don't want it to be on Jurassic and have that extra length to their trips. So I'm going to make a substitute motion to deny.
Second.
We have a substitute motion to deny with by Commissioner Smith, a second by Commissioner Kemp. I'd actually like to offer some commentary here because from what I see is a problem with our road design and our land use. In this particular case, Wilson Circle, for all practical purposes, is a rural road. We have not required, when that was designed, for it to be a standard that would permit children walking to school. It has no sidewalk, it has no setback, it has no hard shoulder. While the emergency access would provide for pedestrian access, opening it up for regular traffic would allow regular traffic to be sharing the road with children walking to the school. When we do not require anything more than a 2-lane road with either no shoulder or a hard shoulder in an area that is now permitted for 2 houses per acre or anything other than 1 house per 5 acres, we are setting up ourselves for this fight because we are designing roads that are not for people walking on them. They're not for sharing it with pedestrians. They're not for sharing it with bicycles. They are for cars. And Jurassic is the collector road. This is a neighborhood road or a community road. So I do understand the rub here because what we're asking for by requiring the connectivity in this particular case is the connectivity to a road that is substandard, that is not safe for pedestrians out of that community, and would create additional connection between Dale Mabry and Jurassic Road, which is a collector road. So I'm torn here because yes, I want connectivity, I want access, but opening this up for additional traffic to access a major road such as Dale Mabry does increase the risk of children actually being hit by cars on this road. And I'm having a hard time with that one. So we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second. Please indicate your vote.
Motion failed 3-3.
Actually,
Correction, I need to reopen the vote. I didn't see that Myers had not voted.
It won't.
This is for denial.
This is for denial, yes.
Point of order. Okay, so you're for denial. Okay, I've got it.
Well, we are in the middle of a vote.
I understand, but I'm
sorry, I didn't see your hand. I didn't see your indication to speak before the vote.
when I realized we were just going to the vote. I want to say this for the record too, that I know there, and I thought the speaker, one of the speakers, was very compelling and pointing out that it was the rural road. We saw the pictures of the rural road, but there is, and I would just like to say, it was said this board approved this or did this or took these actions. But I'll have to say that I just want to say that this is not something that this board approved in the first place, this kind of development out there without that in place. And we have done actions on this board to make sure that these situations don't happen in the future. But I think not looking at this connectivity and trying to provide it, as Commissioner Smith said, it's a hard thing to do, but it would be a big mistake. And I think we have to look at how, in those rural roads that are out there that we have, not this board, but prior boards have opened up to a development that is not appropriate without the infrastructure in place and without money to provide the appropriate infrastructure. If you're going to do that, you have to plan for it. It wasn't done, but we end up in situations like this. I just like to make that clear. But as well, I think we have to look at what makes sense for now. And we've got this development there. I think the staff comments as to this, I'm going to be accepting their analysis of what this does and picking and choosing about what we're going to be there for or not be there for or define for ourselves what, I'm not, I can't make those judgments, but also the fact that we have got to be, either we bite the bullet or do this. The development's there. We have got to figure out how to make it work because it's already there without, and again, this board didn't say it was okay, not this board, to be doing this kind of development in the rural area. That was something that was approved in the past and I think would be looked at very different right now. But we're facing this and we have coming back and saying to us, well, don't do the kind of appropriate connections or don't do the kind of appropriate infrastructure, which, we are going to have Jurassic Road coming here in the future. We're going to have the people that are living in this development going, what are you doing here? It's really just looking at, we're paying for our own county road and infrastructure there. I think we do have a responsibility to make sure that can be used, that it is appropriate in the future. I even look at how the grid is not connected in the entire Dale Mabry area. It seems like a punch throughs for Dale Mabry Highway would be appropriate to connect neighborhoods to neighborhoods so we can get what we need to have off of Dale Mabry Highway. But with that, I'm just going to, again, say I'm supporting the motion and we can move, we can move to,
Okay, I'm gonna, Commissioner Cohen, you're recognized.
Yeah, I'm very, very torn on this, and I understand exactly the policy implications that are being talked about here, but here's the elemental thing I'm struggling with. How is it going to help? There's going to be pedestrians and bicyclists either way, no matter which thing we do. I don't see how adding cars to this equation is going to, as a safety matter, be at all helpful. I'm looking at that road. You pointed out no sidewalks. It doesn't even look like there's any lights. Kids are going to be walking out there one way or the other, no matter which we do. And you look at it and to your point, there's absolutely no infrastructure out there to support anything. And, I think it just creates, it creates a safety hazard. And that's the big thing, the big hump that I can't get over with this.
I'm going to actually go to a vote unless there's further comment, but I did want to, Commissioner Myers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was trying to get my vote in the last time, but I had some issues with voting. So if we could vote again, I'd like to get my vote in.
All right. And I do hear you, Commissioner Cohen. I too, normally I do want connectivity. Can transportation give us an understanding of whether or not this area is on the transportation list for sidewalks or others infrastructure investment to address the deficits that are in this particular area, given the density that's been approved over the last several years? Do you know if anyone has provided that testimony or that opportunity in the report? I missed it if it's there.
I don't know that we have the information on the future sidewalk plan. We can check into the status and find out what the county has in terms of that on the work list.
Okay, because I think it would be fair to the residents to get an understanding of what any corridor preservation plan or sidewalk investment plan is scheduled for this particular area, given the density increase. And with that, I'll stop and ask for a vote, please, to deny.
Motion failed 2-5. Commissioners Cohen. Sorry about that. I need to bring the vote back up. Motion failed 2-5. Commissioners Cohen, Hagan, Myers, Overman, and White voted no.
All right, thank you very much. With that, I'm going to introduce the next item, and then Commissioner, I'm sorry.
We'll go to the original motion.
Go to the original motion, my apologies. So we have a motion by Commissioner Hagan and a second by Commissioner White, I believe. Please indicate your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we'll move to E3. And I'm going to introduce the motion, and then Commissioner Smith will need to take the gavel as I must leave. I apologize. Mr. Brady.
The next item is agenda item E3, PRS application 22-0619. The applicant is the Hillsborough County School Board. This is a minor modification to a parcel located at the southeast corner of Roy Dixon Road and North US Highway 41 in the Apollo Beach area. Commissioners, the request is to modify the site development layout for the parcel. The parcel is approved for 44,000 square feet of school administration, maintenance, and warehouse buildings and school bus parking. This is existing site plan layout for the buildings and the bus parking. Access to the parcel is to the south of a county-owned parcel, the US 41, with emergency access to the east at 12th Street, Again, what they're proposing to do is to reconfigure the layout of the project as shown in the plan here. Access will remain, full access, main access will remain to US 41 with emergency access to 12th Street with the reconfiguration as shown. Staff reviewed this and is recommending approval, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Good morning. Thank you. Isabel Albert with Half Associates representing the school board. This is pretty much a straightforward request. The uses and access and everything has already been approved, but we're just, after doing more engineering on the site and research, the layout was changed, and therefore we're switching the parking area for the bus as shown in the site plan. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. That was pretty quick. Thank you very much. Is there any opponents or proponents here to testify on this matter?
No one in the audience.
Seeing none, I assume the applicant will waive the rebuttal. And then we'll hear from Development Services.
Yes.
Nothing further to add.
I'm sorry, I couldn't, nothing further. Okay, with that. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kemp, a second by Commissioner Cohen. Please indicate your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Good.
And Commissioner Smith, you have the gavel.
All right. That takes us to the F items on the regular agenda. Mr. Grady will provide the Development Services summary of application and findings, starting with item F1.
Thank you. Again, Brian Grady, Development Services. Next item on the agenda is item F1, rezoning petition 21-0962. The applicant, Stephen J. Gibbs. The parcel is located on 3408 Hoyt Road. It's 2.67 acres in size, currently zoned AS1 and RFC3. The request is for a planned development to accommodate a 25-bed professional residential facility. As shown in the area, this parcel is located in the Northdale area east of Dale Mabry Highway and the Northdale intersection of Northdale Boulevard and Dale Mabry Highway and Hoyt Road to the east of the commercial corridor that is along Dale Mabry Highway. As shown here, the proposal is to convert the existing house and accessory structure to a 25-bed professional residential facility. Again, with access directly to Hoyt Road, using an existing access driveway that is being improved to county standards for this particular use. Staff is recommending approval of this application. We felt in review of the request, and I'll go to the site plan, that with the large setback of the building from the roadway with existing wetland area and the requirements that they'll maintain the residential appearance and character of the home, and again with the large setback and with limitations on signage that requires the only kind of signage permitted would be an address sign. Therefore, it would not be discernible with respect to that visual impact on the roadway. You wouldn't have a sign identifying this as a professional residential facility. I would note that as part of this request, the applicant did receive a relief from a buffer width along the access driveway to accommodate those improvements to the access drive. The requirement would be for a 10-foot buffer with type A screen, which would be a 6-foot of fence, wall, or hedge. The applicant is proposing in this area 3.5 feet and an 8-foot hedge and 6-foot wall. Again, based on the configuration of the parcel and the conditions as outlined in the staff report, staff did find this request compatible and is recommending approval subject to conditions and available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the applicant has 10 minutes for oral argument.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and board members. Jim Porter with the law firm of Ackerman, 401 East Jackson Street, Tampa. I'm here today representing the applicant. With me as part of the applicant's team is AICP planner Michael Horner and project engineer Jeremy Couch. We'll be providing a brief overview of the project, and we're going to ask for your approval. I'll note for the record that we have recommendations of approval from the Development Services Department, a finding of consistency with the comprehensive plan for the Planning Commission, and a very strong recommendation of approval from the Land Use Hearing Officer. Prior to the zoning hearing master hearing, we had 3 virtual neighborhood meetings where we received input from the neighborhood and incorporated many of their issues into our proposed zoning conditions. I'll note for the record there's no intention to expand the existing house. I'll also note that the hearing officer found that we were consistent with the Greater Carrollwood Northdale Community Plan. There is no end operator in line at this point, so we're merely asking for the property to be rezoned to planned development to allow the desired use. Anything that would happen in the future would require, obviously, a licensure by the state and other permits that would have to be obtained. This is only for the zoning piece of this to allow the use. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Horner now to provide further expert testimony about the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, board members. Madam Chair, I'm Michael Horner, 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway, Tampa, 33618. I have a few exhibits briefly. And I have been sworn. Commissioners, I'll be summary oriented on this. The record is replete with reviews, criteria, assessments, evaluations, consistency, objectives. We have, as Mr. Porter noted, unanimous recommendations of approval. We have no objections from any review agency, including transportation, EPC, or natural resources. We have gone through extensive reviews with staff. We continued this case a number of times, even taking it to the last possible zoning hearing master so that we could have additional input and reach out to the neighbors. As Mr. Porter noted, we had 3 very active Zoom sessions with the neighbors of record. They expressed certain concerns. We went back and tried to address those concerns to the best of our ability and added additional conditions of record. On the comp plan before you, commissioners, you can see that this facility is actually a house, and it's located in Res 4. However, it directly abuts the Office Commercial 20 future land use sector. That is the most intensive sector in Hillsborough County along strip commercial highways, which is North Dale Mabry to the west. We have direct access through an existing driveway to Hoyt Road. We are required to do a commercial driveway, widening it somewhat for handicap accessibility and sidewalks, and we agreed to that condition. But no new access. We're not impacting any other roadway. We are the first driveway east of Dale Mabry, aside from the commercial shopping center, and we are abutting commercial zoning and a commercial shopping center and commercial development further west along Hoyt Road and North Dale Mabry Highway. We could zoom in on that just a little bit. There, that's good. Commissioners, this is an aerial overlay that shows the actual parcel in question. It should be noted that this property is actually a parent tract of approximately 13 acres, of only which 2.67 acres is being requested for the PD rezoning. So if I may point out, all of this property is owned by the applicant owner. This parcel is the only area requested for the PD rezoning. This is the existing residence. This is a detached garage of which we're incorporating the upstairs, 1,000 square feet into this facility placement. You can see the extensive wetlands again surrounding the site and the existing driveway with gates locked 6-foot wall minimum, and also minimum 8-foot hedge directly on the east side. Development Services has scrutinized this extensively, as you can imagine. And we sat down with staff over the last 2 years because we had a prior petition to PD rezoning that we ultimately withdrew so that we could seek a LUHO variance for existing wetland issues. Those have all been approved. We reapplied for this PD rezoning when all those approval recommendations lined up. I would ask board members that you review the zoning hearing master findings and conclusions of law that appear on pages 22 through 26 of Ms. Finch's recommendation. These are very strong findings of fact and conclusions of law. We certainly agree with those findings, and it was a very complete hearing with substantial testimony. Additionally, the comprehensive plan evaluation for the findings of fact from the Planning Commission in terms of consistency with the comp plan policies. If you look at pages 5 and 6 of the Planning Commission report, you will find that not only they support this adaptive reuse of a single-family house, and again, the house is not being expanded, it's not being changed, it's only being amended to allow for consideration of this professional residential facility. No signage, no changes to the landscaping, no changes to the orientation, no tree cutting, and no additional impervious surface. The buffer screening provisions that Brian just mentioned, we are clearly adequate. We have accommodated for those on the site plan. The zoning hearing master found this in full compliance with all rules, regulations, and criteria. You will hear from the hearing master proxy to the county attorney's office, and you will hear from the Planning Commission as well. As Mr. Porter noted, this has to go through substantial permitting. No less than 15 permit agencies for this type of facility have to go through those extensive reviews. Those will be forthcoming. Those are arduous. Those are difficult. It's primarily through Florida Certification Board as well as Florida Health and Rehabilitative Services, but ultimate permit issuances will have to go through both state and local regulatory processes. You zoom in on that, please. On the site plan itself, board members, we again have incorporated only the footprint of the house. We have expanded the footprint of the parking area so that we allow for all parking requirements to be exceeded. We only need 7 spaces. We are providing 16 spaces. Again, if you read the Planning Commission findings, we are permitted up to 41 beds for this facility under 61175 in their comp plan calculations. For the wetland density credits, we are only seeking 25. If you look at the staff report and zoning hearing master findings, we have agreed to every single condition recommended by staff. At the hearing before the hearing master, we also agreed to additional conditions. Locked gates. This would be no court mandated placements. This is only self-pay. In addition to 24-hour video surveillance, camera, fencing, gating access, etc. We have not objected to any of those conditions, and we think the majority of those are very responsive to some of the concerns expressed by the opposition neighbors. We believe this meets all of the criteria. I don't know what else the applicant could have done. We are well below thresholds. Again, no sign placement. You will drive by the site on Hoyt Road and you will not know this facility even exists. There will be no signage. Those gates will be locked. This is essentially an isolated estate facility. Single-family house will appear exactly as it does today with interior improvements only. With that, be happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your time, commissioners.
Thank you. At this point, we have, we asked for proponent? I'm confused because I thought we'd do comp plan, or the planning commission first, but.
Yes, proponent testimony.
Proponent and opponent,
oral
okay.
argument.
So is there anyone in the room who wants to speak to this item as a proponent?
No one in the audience identifying themselves as proponents.
And anyone who wants to speak as an opponent?
There are opponents in the audience, and they're coming to the podium.
Okay.
Just one procedural question that went a little long. I just found out yesterday, thanks to Ashley Rome, that we could use PowerPoint. So we've incorporated some pictures in. We're representing over 268 petitioners in opposition and over 62 letters. So since we're the only speaker, is it possible that we could have 15 minutes? I'm going to move through this as quickly as I can.
No, sir. We have 10 minutes. 10 minutes total for everybody in opposition.
Okay, that just went more than 10 minutes.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, just a point of order. We had the public hearing at the zoning hearing master hearing. I don't believe they did a PowerPoint there. I just asked the county attorney to opine on what's allowed to be considered today.
Thank you. So that was Mr. Jim Porter, and who is the citizen up here? I don't think we've heard your name. Give your name for the record.
Excuse me. Chairman Overman, this is Randall Reeder. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Janun, one of the neighboring neighbors. And as a point of order, I would also like to point out that we haven't been given any time to cross-examine any of this testimony. There's a lot of evidence that needs to be presented, and I sincerely need to point out that there has not been unanimous approval among all the agencies. The main things have been the environmental protection elements of this, where it hasn't been submitted to it at all.
I'm sorry. Who is this? Are you? Excuse me. Are you with the applicant?
I'm just pointing this out so it's on the record. And there is.
Excuse me. Now, are you with the applicant's team, or are you a citizen speaking in opposition?
I'm in opposition. Randall Reeder, 1319 West Fletcher Avenue, on behalf of Saeed and Janet Janoon at 3005 Holt Road.
Okay. Now, thank you for your testimony. The opposition has the 10 minutes, and you're down 20 seconds at this point. You are limited to what's been put on the record, and so any slideshow or anything else would have to have been shown at the zoning hearing, master hearing, or put in writing into the case file. One moment. The clock is stopped while we're sorting this out. Ms. Lundgren, will you please inform us about this procedure?
I'll elaborate. Commissioner Smith explained it well, but the presentation needs to be composed of items that are in the record. So no newly created PowerPoint slides could be shown except for photos or other documents that were already placed in the zoning hearing master record.
Okay, thank you. So to the citizen, anything you've already shown at the zoning hearing master or put in the record with your letters or anything is you can show to us, but anything else our rules do not allow you to show. So with that, the gentleman who had come to the mic first, if you will again restate your name, and then we'll start the clock with your testimony at 9:41.
Good morning. This is Jeff Kane, 15838 Glenarm Drive. I'm speaking on behalf of the large opposition to this rezoning, since we only
Mr. Kane, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Please remove the document from the overhead, as that was not shown at the zoning hearing master.
Okay. We only collectively have a few minutes to present our key reasons. We understand we are here like a David against the Goliath of resources that Mr. Dibbs has assembled with the full project team by hiring an expensive attorney, project manager, engineer, and even a PR firm to push his rezoning through to force more development on us as he did years before with his Dibbs Commercial Center and Hampton Lakes Reserve expansion. Now, we are not anti-development, nor are we just NIMBYs, but we voted for you to represent us when we have a legitimate protest to things that threaten us. Having this drug rehab center right in the neighborhood threatens us for these legitimate reasons as follows. For your consideration, sympathy, and understanding as if you were one of us, having your neighborhood threatened. So before just voting this through, for once this is a rezone commercially, there's no going back with our desperate situation here. Facts, the area of 250 homes, we got over 268 signatures of neighbors on petitions of opposition who are all registered voters. Over 60 people signed and submitted letters taking the time to explain the reasons for opposition. We have 2 HOAs opposed. The Hampton Lakes HOA 79 homes voted unanimously against it, and the reserve at Hampton Lakes, President James Llewellyn stated there are 24 homes emphatically opposed this. So please consider this volume. The concern that these kinds of drug rehab centers are well known for attracting crime. My wife and I have worked professionally in helping many drug rehab facilities, and the presence of this kind of facility changed the area around them. Our experience saw drug addicts attract drug dealers and their friends to secretly provide or help smuggle drugs into the facilities. Of course, how else are there overdoses in these facilities? This can bring a criminal element to the surrounding area. Also, on a daily, weekly basis, addicts in the rehab facility frequently try to leave on foot from the facility into the surrounding area for any reason, endangering all the inhabitants of the surrounding area. In Eric Burson's letter, a new resident to our neighborhood, he shares the personal experience when just recently a resident in Los Angeles. There they tried this experiment of moving drug rehab facilities out to the residential suburbs, and his neighborhood was affected, where he personally experienced the immediate increase in crime upon the startup of the rehab center, which was similar to the one now proposed by Mr. Dibbs. We don't have to make the same mistake here as they did in Los Angeles. In James Llewellyn's letter, he makes a key point about Mr. Dibbs' current track record of failure to fill 5 storefronts in the Dibbs Commercial Center that have been vacant for 4 or more years that have thus attracted vandalism. Further, Mr. Dibbs also abandoned the reserve at Hampton Lakes with only 1 house built. With this kind of failing track record, it is not hard to imagine the new proposed drug rehab facility could fail, thus leading to more vandalism and thus attracting more criminal elements that we would be stuck with. Another concern, this crime makes our neighborhood unsafe and with many negative impacts to our community. As the head of the Neighborhood Watch for our Hampton Lakes, we have been working hard for years to keep our neighborhood safe and building our reputation as a family friendly. This proposal puts our neighborhood safe reputation at risk. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has recognized our Neighborhood Watch for being well organized. Drug dealers who we've chased out in the past have been attracted like a magnet to our open Commons area at our lakefront. With the drug rehab so close by, we are at risk of them coming back. This risk impacts the safety of our families and children who are out innocently playing there and in the neighborhood and would be endangered by these drug dealers and this criminal element. This could ruin the drug and crime-free reputation we have fought so hard for. As Ben Visa's licensed mental health counselor, who is a neighbor, points this out, the risks are real. The patients Mr. Dibbs hopes to attract are not just the compliant recovery population, but likely the oppositional patients coerced into treatment by frustrated family. Mr. Dibbs' concessions to create a 24/7 lockdown facility is actually illegal in Florida. This is not a detention correction facility, but a drug rehab center which can't hold its resident clients captive as criminals, but they're able to leave on foot for as long as they want. Further, one of the basic tenets of addiction therapy is to reduce or eliminate opportunities for relapse, which includes access to substances being abused. With a 10-minute walking distance, Mr. Dibbs' property are at least 6 businesses which serve or sell alcohol, several which are bars which have been known to residents and local law enforcement as having illicit drug activity. Thus, the risk to our safety and security is very real, and the location is not good for drug rehab either. Another concern, increased traffic on Old Holt Road, which is a substandard and not equipped for increased demand. As Joan Johnson and many others feel, this would cause increased traffic congestion on the only road in and out of our neighborhoods. Holt Road, our small county road, which is in poor repair. No traffic study has been done. Why not? Staff referenced some ITE data research based on traffic data on only 4 facilities somewhere in the U.S., which were actually ALFs, not drug rehab facilities. A current traffic analysis would have to include the addition of emergency vehicles, drug rehab staff, vendors, and visitors that would disrupt our current traffic, as well as build up congestion at the traffic light at Houghton Del Mabry, a major highway. Thus, the cycle time at this traffic light for our Holt Road side will always be shorter, thus causing a dramatic backup of all this added traffic at the light that we have already seen increases with the addition of 2 new neighborhoods added off Hope since the original rezoning hearing years ago that approved Mr. Dibbs' commercial center. Thus, any assessment of low traffic impact should be viewed with great skepticism. Thus, common sense says adding a now proposed 25-bed drug rehab center with all these added visitors, replacing just one Dibbs residence, will be significant. In addition, with limited parking spaces proposed for a 25-bed facility, there is not nearly enough parking. Where would all the overflow vehicles go to park at peak times other than out onto our shared Hope Road, which we were even told by Mr. Dibbs' attorney would not be allowed? In addition, parking on Hope would cause traffic restrictions for emergency vehicles getting into the drug rehab facility or any of our homes back in the neighborhoods. Thus, all adults and students walking past, like the school, would make them even more vulnerable with these parking problems. The proposed rezoning would then make this traffic problem hurt the reputation of our neighborhood. So what's the real traffic count? No one knows, as no traffic study has been done. Why? Another concern, the application has been reworked multiple times with mixed usage, inappropriate, or confusing data. Many have pointed out that there have been numerous changes to the proposed usage of this facility. Back in August 2021, this was proposed to be a residential ALF, then a spa added, then changed to a target, a greater role in the commercial drug rehab. That was proposed to be a 20-bed facility, then further expanded to a 25-bed. In getting this property rezoned commercially, would Mr. Dibbs then continue to propose further expansions and changes? Where does it go or end? Then it was scheduled for hearing back in 21 to only have the hearing continue. Mr. Dibbs repeatedly with continued changes. Even a resubmittal proposal was just made this April 28th after the cutoff and master's rezoning hearing. We've had to keep studying all of these changes to see now what's the change this time. It's been like a moving target that has made it very stressful for all of us in these affected neighborhoods. The current proposal still has references to ALF and ALF related data for traffic, making for confusing, inappropriate data usage. Mr. Llewellyn's point out that even in the Zoom meetings in February, the Dibbs team admitted there was no clinical plan in place, so we are left to wonder what would actually happen as a result of this rezoning. The past rezoning approved for Mr. Dibbs' commercial had his house as a residential buffer to all the rest of our neighborhoods to try to protect our safety, security, peace, quiet, and thus the property values. Now this rezoning changes that taking away the important buffer, these changes having many negative effects and doesn't benefit any of our residents, but only hurts us just as Mr. Dibbs for only making money for him.
Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you, and if you'll stop the clock just a minute. I just want to make sure that everybody understands there's 1.5 minutes left for total citizen opposition. So if there's anyone else in the room who's going to speak, you're going to have to share that time with them. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm speaking to represent all of them. That's why we've worked so hard to consolidate this.
Great. Thank you. Please proceed.
Yeah, Mr. Randall's testimony reinforced all these concerns and states this rezoning violates adherence to current regulations, including creating further encroachment and destruction of the wetlands needing protection. All this points to Ann Bliss' point that Mr. Dibbs' reputation of setting an example of how to bypass ordinances is just to do what he wants. Another concern then is substantial risk to our property values. As stated in letters, we worked hard to build our neighborhood's reputation, family-friendly, peaceful, quiet, and safe neighborhood. All the efforts to make crime-free, drug-free, attractive, and well-kept properties in our lakefront area has allowed our property values and reputation to catch up with more established neighborhoods like Carrollwood. But if the rezoning is approved with all its risks to our reputation, we would lose so much value. In Sarah Vigil's letter as an experienced RE/MAX realtor, she gives her opinion that confirms all of our concerns of the harm to our property values and the inappropriateness of rezoning this Dibbs residence as a good example of spot zoning, which clearly is a no-no, given its immediate proximity to our neighbors and causing us to lose the Dibbs residence as a cutout buffer between residential and commercial settings. This proposal rezoning was dramatically hurt our property values that we have worked to have our only hedge against inflation and represents much of our retirement savings that we worked so hard for. Finally, there is also our concern of plenty of already appropriately zoned commercial property nearby, so the rezoning doesn't fit and is not beneficial. Many residents have questioned the need for an additional treatment facility in this part of Hillsborough County when multiple facilities in the county are not near full census status. In addition, you, our county commissioners, should consider the likelihood Mr. Dibbs' poor success record. This facility could fail, thus causing pause to make this critical rezoning change, eliminating this cutout residential buffer that protects us for what gain? Now,
Gotcha. Sir, your time is out. I let you go a little bit longer because of the interruptions that we had before. But
Thank you
the
very
time
much.
is up now for oral argument.
Please do not
So,
ruin our neighborhood's
excuse me.
reputation and safety. We
Sir,
propose
sir,
acceptable
no, sir,
solution that
sir,
would
you're
be
done.
acceptable.
Sir, you're done.
We just wanted to make an offer.
Sir,
that you could
you're
turn to
done
a standard
speaking. You are
proposal that
done
we could
speaking. The
accept.
time is out. The time is over. I did let you have a few seconds extra, a little bit of time extra because of the earlier interruptions.
The
But you're
application
done
will
now.
be
The time is done for oral argument.
available for further questions.
At this time, we will have a rebuttal from the applicant, and the applicant has 5 minutes.
Also, just a point, I was told.
No more.
Yeah,
Also,
word.
sir,
Hand
sir,
out
you're
this,
done.
and I was able to use the Elmo.
Sir,
Okay.
it's time for the applicant's rebuttal for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and Board. Again, for the record, Jim Porter with Ackerman. Board members, as your attorney pointed out, Ms. Lundgren, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Your decision needs to be based on competent substantial evidence. The competent substantial evidence in the record is important. We have a recommendation from Development Services Center. That's the Development Services Department. That's competent substantial evidence. A finding of consistency from the Planning Commission is competent substantial evidence. The recommendation of the hearing officer for approval is competent substantial evidence. The testimony of Mr. Horner, who's a certified planner, is competent expert substantial testimony. The testimony at the zoning hearing master hearing of Jeremy Couch, who's a professional engineer, is competent substantial evidence. Mr. Horner used the term, the record is replete with competent substantial evidence to support this. We are following your code and your comprehensive plan to a T. This project has a lifespan of several years because we did try to work with the neighbors. We did try to address all the concerns that your staff raised, and they found over and over and over again that we meet or exceed all the criteria in your land development code and your comprehensive plan. It's important to note that this use is a residential support use. It is not a commercial use, and that was confirmed by staff and the hearing master at the zoning hearing master hearing. Petitions, neighborhood opposition are not competent substantial evidence. They certainly have a right to speak and express their opinion, but we're in a quasi-judicial proceeding. Your decision has to be based on the evidence and on the comprehensive plan and the land development code that you adopted. Staff found that traffic and parking are not issues on this property. We've identified where the parking spaces will be. Your staff performed an analysis of traffic and found that it will not be a problem. This is not about Mr. Dibbs. This is about the property. Mr. Dibbs will not be the end operator of this, and any evidence or testimony about him is really irrelevant to this. This is really about what is a good use for the property based on your comprehensive plan and your land development code. I do appreciate Ms. Lundgren pointing out that evidence that was not in the record at the hearing cannot be considered. I feel the record was tainted by showing that. I would ask you not to consider anything that was not part of the zoning hearing master record, because this is, again, a quasi-judicial proceeding. I'm going to close at this point unless Mr. Horner has anything he needs to add. We respectfully ask for your approval, and I thank you.
Thank you. While Mr. Horner is coming up there, I'm going to just make the point for the record that what was shown on the Elmo was shown too quickly for any of us to read it and could not have tainted the record in any way. So, Mr. Horner, you're recognized.
Madam Chair, thank you, and board members. Again, Michael Horner, I'm not going to add anything further to Mr. Porter's excellent summary. I will let the record stand on its own. Thank you very much.
Mr. Horner, may I ask you a question before you sit down?
Certainly.
So it's my understanding from what's been presented that there is a structure currently on the property, something along the lines of a large single-family home, and that would be used for this 25-bed facility without any modification except internally. Is that what's been presented?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This estate has about 11,000 and change square feet under roof. The garage is separate. That's 2,000 square feet. If you look at just air-conditioned space and heated and cooled space, The actual facility represents 8,500 square feet. No changes, no expansions, no outside improvements, no additional tree taking down, and no additional pervious surface. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and now we'll hear from the Planning Commission staff.
Good morning, and thank you, Melissa Leinhardt, for the record, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the residential 4 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area and also located within the limits of the Greater Carrollwood Community Plan. The proposed use meets the intent of Objective 1 and Policies 1.2 and 1.3 of the future land use element that require growth to be in the urban service area, and it also meets minimum density requirements of 4 dwelling units per acre. As a residential support use that is surrounded by single-family residential to the east, the proposal meets the compatibility requirements of future land use element policy 1.4. In this case, the existing structure will not be changed and will remain compatible with the surrounding area. The subject site is in the residential 4 future land use category and is surrounded by single-family residential dwellings. As a residential support use that is adaptively reusing the existing single-family residential dwelling and the existing parking garage structure, the proposal meets the compatibility requirements of the future land use element. The applicant has also proposed additional conditions to mitigate any impacts from the use to ensure compatibility with the surrounding area, as relating to the installation of video cameras and perimeter lighting, restricting AA and drug rehabilitation meetings to locations off-site to commercially zoned properties, and the provision of overflow parking, transportation shuttles, as well as restrictions to on-street parking. All of this meeting the intent of policy 16.3 and 17.7 of the future land use element with regard to compatibility. The subject site is located between higher intensity office commercial 20 uses on the west and single family residential on the east, and serves as an appropriate transitional use between them as emphasized in future land use element policy 16.2. The proposed use also meets the intent of future land use element objective 20, which encourages the development and redevelopment of residential housing for special target groups of people. Policy 20.5 outlines the conditions for the siting of such facilities, and this proposed site is not located in proximity to another congregational living facility. Policy 20.6 outlines the appropriate person to dwelling unit conversion and density, and the proposed number of 25 beds meets this conversion threshold. The request is also consistent with the Greater Carrollwood Northdale Community Plan, specifically strategies of Goal 1 that mention the development of residential support uses with appropriate parking and functional open space, as well as incentives for the adaptive reuse of existing facilities. Goal 2 of the community plan and its accompanying strategies seeks to preserve the nature of suburban neighborhoods and character. The adaptive reuse of the existing building on site will preserve the existing suburban character of the area. And based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leinhardt. And at this time, we'll have the summary of the zoning hearing master recommendation.
The zoning hearing master considered the applicant's request for rezoning of approximately 2.67 acres from ASC1 and RSC3 to plan development to permit a professional residential facility type C with a maximum of 25 place residents. The facility will be located within the existing approximately 11,000 square foot single family home on the subject property. A plan development variation is requested to the required 5-foot buffer and required 6-foot high wall, fence, or hedge to instead provide for a 3.5-foot buffer with a 6-foot wall and 8-foot high hedge on the east side of the driveway access. The applicant justified the variation by stating that it is due to the existing location of the driveway and the wall property line of the existing home. The zoning hearing master found that the PD variation meets the intent of the code and recognizes the existing single-family home driveway and will not substantially interfere with or injure the rights of adjacent property owners. County transportation staff testified at the hearing in response to citizen opposition concerning transportation concerns, that the traffic comparison between the maximum number of single-family homes that could be developed on the site was the same or less than the proposed facility with 25 place residents. The applicant's representative agreed to a zoning condition that would require the facility to keep the existing gated access points closed and locked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and also agreed to a zoning condition to prohibit any court-ordered persons at the facility. The applicant's representative stated that the 25 place persons would be private, self-pay participants in the program. The rezoning to plan development for the professional residential facility type C with a maximum of 25 place residents was found by the zoning hearing master to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land development code, and serving to to provide a compatible land use given the surrounding development pattern. The zoning hearing master recommended approval.
Thank you. It didn't sound like the end there. So at this time, we'll open for board discussion, starting with Commissioner Hagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's no question professional facilities like the one requested are needed. I give the applicant credit for including a number of conditions to minimize the impact and appearance of a commercial use in a residential neighborhood. That being said, I cannot support the request. I feel it is incompatible with the residential neighborhood to the east and north. There are commercial uses to the west. However, those front Dale Mabry. However, this would be an encroachment of commercial uses into a clearly residential area, which would include routine vendor services, commercial deliveries, and staff-related traffic. There's only one way in and one way out via Hoyt Road. There are concerns with potentially decreasing property values. The applicant had 3 community meetings. Again, I'll give him credit for doing that. However, afterward, from what I can tell, there's either unanimous or nearly unanimous opposition from the neighborhood, evidenced by the nearly 300 residents who signed petitions or sent emails opposing the request. So I stand with the residents and will move denial.
Second.
Got a motion for denial by Commissioner Hagan, second by Commissioner White. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please record your vote.
Commissioner Myers? Motion carried 4-2. Commissioners Cohen and Myers voted no.
Thank you. All right, and that takes us to our next item, F2.
The next item is agenda item F2 is rezoning standard 22-0076. The applicant's Palmer Group LLC. The parcel is located in the northeast corner of Turkey Creek Road and West Keysville Road. The parcel is 7.25 acres. It has a future land use designation of Res 1. It's in the rural service area. The current zoning is AR, which permits a minimum lot size of 5 acres. The applicant is requesting to rezone to ASC 1, which permits a minimum lot size of 1 acre, consistent with the maximum density permitted under the Res 1 future land use classification. Staff reviewed this and found it compatible with existing zoning and development pattern in the area and is recommending approval. We're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and that takes us to the applicant. You have 10 minutes.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael Horner, 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway, Tampa 33618, representing the applicant. I will be brief. This was amended, Commissioners, from 60-odd acres to just 7.25. That is the only area that is in the Res 1 comp plan sector. We're asking for ASC 1. We are directly across from Durant High School. No objections, no one testified in opposition at the hearing, unanimous approvals. Happy to answer any questions you may have, but we're surrounded by AS AS1, ASC1, and 1 acre lots. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you keeping it brief. So we'll move to oral argument. Is there anyone signed up for, or anyone in the room who wants to speak as a proponent of this application?
No one in the room.
Anyone in opposition?
No one in the room.
Thank you. I assume the applicant will waive rebuttal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And that Planning Commission staff will now provide report.
Thank you, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the Residential 1 future land use category. The site is located in the rural area, and it is not located within the limits of a community plan. Regarding the rural area policies of the future land use element, Objective 4 outlines that the rural area is focused on long-term agricultural uses and large lot and low-density rural residential uses. The established standard is that no more than 20% of all population growth within the county is to occur in the rural area. This is to prevent the encroachment of urban or suburban development. The proposed rezoning will not encourage higher densities or smaller lot sizes than what is already existing in the area and is therefore consistent with that policy direction. Objective 16 and its accompanying policies in the future land use element require the protection of existing neighborhoods through various mechanisms. The proposed rezoning to ASC1 complements the neighborhood because it is proposing low-density residential. As a result, the use is compatible with the surrounding area and meets the intent of the policy direction with regard to neighborhood protection and compatibility. Looking at the community design component, this rezoning proposal is further supported with Objective 12-1, which recognizes an existing neighborhood and community and the need for compatibility with any new development. Overall, the proposed rezoning would allow for development that is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and is compatible with the existing development pattern found in the area. And based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County. Thank you.
Thank you. And the zoning hearing master summary?
The zoning hearing master reviewed the request for rezoning of the subject property, approximately 7.25 acres in size, currently zoned agricultural, rural, and designated residential 1 by the comprehensive plan and located within the rural service area. The request is for rezoning to the ASC1 zoning district, which permits single-family homes on a minimum 1 acre lot. The zoning hearing master found that development services staff supports the request as the property is bordered by parcels zoned AS1 and AR. The zoning hearing master, following the zoning hearing master's public hearing, found that the request for the ASC1 zoning district for the subject property is compatible with the surrounding zoning districts and the residential 1 future land use category and recommended approval.
Thank you. Board discussion or
Move
motion?
approval.
Second.
Thank you. Got a motion to approve from Commissioner Cohen, second by Commissioner Myers. Seeing no further discussion, please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. And as we've previously remanded item F3, that takes us to item F4. Mr. Grady, you're recognized for the Development Services Summary.
Yeah, next item is agenda item F4 is major mod application 22-0208. The applicant Spencer's Farms Incorporated. The parcel is located on the west side of Simmons Loop and Simmons Ranch Court intersection. The parcel has a future land use category of SMU 6, which permits a maximum density of 6 units per acre. The request is for a major modification to the existing plan development. Again, the aerial here shows the location of this south of Big Bend, west of 301, at the bend in the Simmons Loop. What the applicant is requesting to do through this modification on the eastern half of the parcel east of the road extension of the Simmons Loops that's being built by the developer. They have an area that was identified as a mixed-use area that would allow nursing, convalescent facilities, charter schools, multifamily, and or townhome uses. The area in red is an area they're seeking to expand to also include in this mixed-use area that was previously provided to be a single-family development. And as part of that expansion, they're also modifying the mix of developments with development entitlements within the project. They're not increasing overall development entitlements, but what they are doing is they're decreasing single family from 450 to 350, and then increasing multifamily from 300 to 400. Based on a review of the surrounding development pattern and the proposed conditions of approval, including required buffering and screening as outlined, staff did find this request approval subject conditions, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And is the applicant available for oral argument?
Yes, good morning again, Commissioners. Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson. I really don't have a whole lot to add. This is a very straightforward application. We're not asking for any increase in density. We're just changing from the number of single-family units and the multifamily units with no net, it's actually a net decrease on infrastructure. And we're here to answer any questions. We did not have any opposition at the zoning hearing master hearing. I believe the only reason why we are not on consent this morning is because there was an email in the record what was actually about another case from 2020 that the person inadvertently referred to our case. So we're not aware of any opposition in the surrounding area, and we would respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. Yes, I did notice that there was just one letter, but it was talking about an entirely different application. Okay. And is there oral argument then in the room, either proponent or opponent?
No one in the audience.
Thank you. And so I assume the applicant will waive rebuttal?
Cammie Corbett for the record, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And Planning Commission staff?
Thank you, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area and also located within the limits of the Riverview Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The applicant is requesting approval of a major modification to PD 06-1687 for a mixed-use development. And the proposed modification to the existing PD seeks to expand the eastern portion of the property from 14.5 acres to 24 acres. The request does not change the layout for the rest of the property and will not exceed the maximum permitted density under the SMU 6 future land use designation. The intent is to remove 50 dwelling units from the western portion and reallocate it to the eastern portion. The proposed PD modification is consistent with future land use element policy 16.1, which seeks to protect neighborhoods. The proposed site plan layout and conditions will ensure that appropriate transitions are provided with the single-family detached residential units to the north, and the proper buffering and screening are conditioned to mitigate impacts to the residential uses in the area. The proposed mixed-use project is compatible with the existing residential nearby and does not exceed the maximum density allowed in the SMU 6 future land use category. The proposed development is also consistent with Riverview Community Plan Vision Statement 5, Goal 1 and 2, which encourages attractive residential development that complements the surrounding character and also promotes housing diversity. The request is consistent with the character of the community and promotes housing diversity, and will also incorporate more than one housing product type and the option for a charter school or an elderly care facility. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed modification consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have the zoning hearing master recommendation summary by Ms. Lundgren.
The zoning hearing master considered the proposed major modification to Plan Development 2006-1687, which is approved for 450 dwelling units with an alternate land use area of 14.5 parcels, approved for either a nursing home or extended care facility up to 120 beds, or a charter school with the maximum of 1,800 students, or multifamily residential up to 300 units or 150 townhomes. The major modification request applies only to the alternate land use pocket and proposes a third development option to increase the area from 14.5 acres to 24 acres and increase the number of multifamily dwelling units from 300 to 400 units. The modification also proposes to reduce the maximum number of single-family units from 450 to 350. Therefore, there is no net increase in terms of density for the planned development. The proposed modification to the alternate land use pocket for the increase of multifamily and the overall decrease in single-family dwelling units was found by the zoning hearing master to be compatible with the area, and the modification was found to be consistent with the plan, comprehensive plan, and the land development code. Based on the recommendations and following the hearing, the zoning hearing master recommended approval.
Thank you. And that takes us to board discussion.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cohen, second by Commissioner Hagan. Seeing no further discussion, please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. We'll move to item F5, starting with Mr. Grady providing the development services summary.
Next on agenda item is F5 is rezoning application PD 22-0237. The applicant is Malou Family Partners. The parcel is located on the east side of North Ola Avenue and Capitol Drive intersection, just north of Fletcher Avenue. In the greater Carrollwood Northdale area, the parcel is 4.189 acre in size. It's in the residential floor plan category, currently zoned RSC 6. The request is rezoned to plan development for 19 townhome units based on the surrounding development pattern as shown in the arrow, which includes commercial to the south and east and mobile home park to the north and single family across Ola. Staff did find the requested 19 townhome plan development consistent with the area and approval subject to conditions. Available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Michael Horner for the record, 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway, Tampa 33618. I will also be brief. We have unanimous recommendations for approval, no objections from any review agency. We have no opposition that testified at the zoning hearing master hearing. This is for 19 townhomes. We started out at 25, but we reduced down to 19. These will be anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000. We are directly next to the shopping center, anchor store to the east, 50 feet away. We are directly abutting 3 commercial zone properties to the south. We have worked with the property owners to the west. Site plan reflects just 5 buildings, a substantial retention pond because we are in a flood-prone area, saving as many trees as possible with natural resources. We have worked with transportation on additional sidewalk connectivity and alignment of our driveway from Capitol Drive. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you, board members.
Thank you. Do we have anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in support, a proponent?
No one in the audience.
Anyone in opposition?
No one in the room.
Applicant waive rebuttal?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And Planning Commission staff?
Thank you, Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the residential 4 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area and also located within the limits of the greater Carrollwood-Northdale community plan. The intent of the residential 4 future land use category is to designate areas that are suitable for low-density residential development. The proposed use of 19 residential units is consistent with the residential 4 future land use densities. The subject property is in the urban service area where 80% or more of new growth is to occur as directed by the comprehensive plan. The proposal meets the intent of Objective 1 and Policies 1.2 and 1.4 of the future land use element by providing growth within the urban service area. The proposed plan development meets the minimum density requirements for properties within the urban service area by providing 19 residential units on a 4.89 acre site, which is consistent with the density expected in the residential 4 category. The plan development proposes 4 buildings with 4 attached units in each and 1 building with 3 attached units. To screen the residential units from surrounding commercial properties, a type B buffer is proposed on the southern boundary. The stormwater retention areas that surround the residential buildings will serve as a natural buffer as well. The subject site is surrounded by light commercial uses such as a grocery store to the east, a mobile home park to the north, and single-family homes to the west. The application is consistent with the neighborhood protection policies as found in the future land use element, as the proposed use is complementary to the surrounding land use pattern. The applicant is proposing internal circulation and a street stub out to connect adjacent neighborhoods together. Sidewalks are proposed along the internal roadway and along North Ola Avenue frontage. Therefore, the proposal meets the intent of the future land use elements connectivity policies. The request is also consistent with goals 1, 2, and 7 of the Greater Carrollwood-Northdale Community Plan. The proposed infill development is located near major commercial corridors and will provide a place for citizens to live by and that they can walk to, supporting the community plan vision. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have the zoning hearing master recommendation.
The zoning hearing master considered the proposed rezoning of the property, which is approximately 4.89 acres in size, zoned residential conventional 6 or RSC 6. The property is designated residential 4 by the comprehensive plan and located in the urban service area and within the Greater Carrollwood-Northdale Community Planning Area. The purpose of the rezoning is to permit 19 townhome dwelling units. No plan development variations or waivers are requested by the applicant. The zoning hearing master found that the surrounding area is developed with a mixture of commercial and residential land uses. The zoning hearing master found that the rezoning to plan development, to allow for 19 townhome dwelling units is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land development code and provides for a compatible land use given the surrounding development pattern. The zoning hearing master therefore recommended approval.
Thank you. Board discussion, motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Motion approved by Commissioner Hagan, second by Commissioner Cohen. Seeing no further discussion, please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Takes us to item F6. Mr. Grady, you're recognized.
The next item is agenda item F6, the rezoning standard application 22-0427. The applicant is Bricklemeyer Law Group. The project is located at 1702 Sparkman Road. It's about 9.7 acres in size. The future land use classification for the parcel is Res 1, which permits a maximum density of 1 unit per acre. It is in the rural service area. The request is to rezone from AR and AS1 to AR, which permits a minimum lot size of 5 acres, to ASC 1, which permits a minimum lot size of 1 acre, consistent with the Res 1 plan category. Staff did find this compatible given the surrounding zoning and development pattern and is recommending approval, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any questions of staff at this time, so I believe that takes us to the applicant oral argument. And the applicant will have up to 10 minutes.
Button. Good morning. I apologize. I actually need to be sworn.
Okay, I'll ask the appropriate representative to swear in. Mr. Bricklemeyer.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Very good. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Clayton Bricklemeyer, Bricklemeyer Law Group, 4427 West Kennedy Boulevard. I'm not going to have anything to add to the presentations. This zoning brings us in line with all the zonings around us. We have unanimous recommendations of approval, and I would respectfully ask for your approval. I'm available for questions.
Very good. I don't see any questions of the applicant at this time. Do we have any proponents in the audience?
No one in the audience.
Okay, do we have any opponents in the audience?
None in the audience.
Okay, so there would be no rebuttal necessary from the applicant. In that case, I will hand it over to Planning Commission staff.
Thank you, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the Residential 1 future land use category. The site is in the rural area and is not located within the limits of a community plan. Objective 4 of the future land use element of the comprehensive plan notes that 20% of growth in the region will occur in the rural area. The subject site is in the rural area, and the proposal therefore meets the intent of Objective 4 and Policy 4.1 by maintaining the low-density, large lot residential character of the rural area. Future land use element Policy 9.1 states that each land use plan category shall have a set of zoning districts that may be permitted within that land use plan category. The intent of the Residential 1 category is to designate areas for low-density, large lot residential uses that are compatible with short-term agricultural uses. The proposal is consistent with the density expected in the Residential 1 future land use category. Objective 16 and its accompanying policies in the future land use element protect existing neighborhoods and development by ensuring compatibility with the surrounding area through various buffering requirements and mitigation techniques. Policy 16.8 specifically requires that the density and lot sizes of the surrounding area be compatible with new development. The existing uses in the area are primarily agricultural, with low-density residential dwellings interspersed throughout. Policy 16.10 states that any density increase shall be compatible with the existing, proposed, or planned surrounding development. In this case, the surrounding area has AR and AS1 zoning, which is compatible with the proposed ASC1. The ASC1 zoning district helps preserve the existing rural residential character of the area. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll hand it back over to the Vice Chair to recognize Zoning Hearing Master.
Thank you very much.
Report.
And Zoning Hearing Master summary.
The zoning hearing master considered the applicant's request for rezoning to the ASC1 zoning district. Property is 9.78 acres in size, zoned AR and AS1, and designated residential 1 by the comprehensive plan. The property is located within the rural service area. As you've heard, the Planning Commission staff has found the request to be compatible with the surrounding area and is supportive of the application. The zoning hearing master, following the hearing, found that the request for the ASC1 zoning district for the property is compatible with the surrounding zoning districts and with the Residential 1 future land use category, and recommended approval.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open for board discussion or a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Motion approved by Commissioner Cohen, second by Commissioner Myers. Seeing no further discussion, please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. And now we'll move to item F7. Mr. Grady, you're recognized.
Agenda item F7 is standard rezoning 22-0462. The applicant's ProStar Multi-Services LLC. The location of the property is on the west side of Jefferson Road, south of Fowler Avenue and north of US 301. The parcel is about 0.62 acres in size. The future land use category is SMU6, which permits a maximum density of 6 units per acre. The applicant is requesting to rezone from AR, which permits a minimum lot size of 5 acres, to RSC9, which permits a minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. Notwithstanding the RSC9 development standards, it will still be limited to a maximum density of 6 units per acre, which will allow a maximum of 3 lots on the property. Based on the surrounding zoning and development pattern, which includes RSC9 zoning and PDs with similar lot sizes to the RSC9, staff did find this request compatible and approvable, and are available for if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll have the applicant oral argument.
Thank you, Commissioners.
last but not least, Michael Horner, last time here, 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway, Tampa 33618. I'll be very brief. Brian gave you a great summary. This is a 0.62 acres. It's located between Fowler and 301, just east of the Tampa Bay bypass. It is intended for just 3 single-family detached homes. We have RSC 9 to the south. We have a PD directly to the east with RSC 9 size lots. Unanimous recommendations for approval and no opposition testimony. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. You're having a busy day.
So far, so good.
I appreciate your brevity. Is there anyone who wants to make oral argument in support of this application?
No one in the audience.
Anyone opposed?
No one in the audience.
No, Mr. Horner looks kind of lonely there. And so I'm going to, Commissioner White, I like the way you did that. Since there's no oral argument either way, we will not have any need for rebuttal. And we'll move straight to the Planning Commission staff report.
Thank you, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area and also located within the limits of the Thenota-Sassa community plan. The intent of the SMU 6 future land use category is to be urban and suburban in intensity and density of uses. The proposal meets the intent of Objective 1 of the future land use element of the comprehensive plan by providing growth within the urban service area. The proposed rezoning to RSC 9 would result in a maximum of 3 dwelling units, meeting the minimum density requirements in the SMU 6 designation. The proposed rezoning is consistent with the surrounding development pattern, which includes single-family developments to the north, east, and south of the site. The proposed density is consistent with the surrounding residential densities, therefore meeting Policy 1.4 of the future land use element regarding compatibility and the neighborhood protection policies found under Objective 16. The subject site is located within the limits of the Thenota-Sassa community plan, and the proposed rezoning provides opportunity for growth and adds value to the community, therefore meeting the vision of the community plan. And based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leinhardt. And the zoning hearing master recommendation?
The zoning hearing master considered the request for rezoning to the RSC 9 zoning district. The property is 0.62 acres in size, currently zoned AR and designated SMU 6 by the comprehensive plan. The property is located within the urban service area and within the Thenota-Sassa community plan. As you've heard, the Planning Commission staff has found the request to be compatible with the surrounding area and supports the application. Following the hearing, the zoning hearing master found that the request for the RSC 9 zoning district on the property is compatible with the surrounding zoning districts and with the SMU 6 future land use category of the plan. The zoning hearing master therefore recommended approval.
Thank you. And that takes us to board discussion.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Hagan, second by Commissioner Myers. Seeing no further discussion, please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. And that takes us to the G items. I see it's 11:30, but I think we can at least get through G1. Maybe if we're really fast, we can get through G1 and G2. So we'll keep on going. We'll have Commissioner Hagan available virtually. So G1, that probably starts with Mr. Grady.
Yeah, we're in the related portion of the agenda. We have 2 related items, G1A and G1B. I believe the board could basically take testimony on both these items and then vote after hearing testimony on the 2 items. G1A is a rezoning of a 3.16 acre parcel at the southeast corner of 10th Avenue Southwest and 10th Street Southwest in the Ruskin area. The purpose of the request is to rezone out of existing PD to allow for 3 lots Again, the purpose of the G1B minor mod PRS application would be to basically modify that P to show removal of that 3.16 acre parcel from the PD associated with G1A. Staff did find G1A approval subject to conditions and available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have the applicant testimony.
And this is for G1A.
Thank you.
Sorry, good morning, Commissioners. I have not been sworn in.
Okay, we have somebody available there that can accomplish that.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Constance Silver. I'm representing the applicant for this project. We have reviewed the staff report and conditions of approval and have no objections. We're here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak for, in support of this application?
No one in the audience.
Anyone in opposition?
No one in the audience.
In that case, there's no need for a rebuttal, and we'll move directly to the Planning Commission staff.
Thank you, Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the suburban mixed-use 6 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area and also located within the limits of the Ruskin Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The intent of the SMU 6 future land use category is to be urban and suburban in intensity and density of uses. The applicant requests to develop 3 single-family residential lots, and the lot sizes proposed are consistent with existing single-family developments immediately north, west, and south of the site. In addition, the proposal includes a 30-foot buffer and fencing along the eastern boundary to provide for screening from the light industrial use. The site is surrounded by light industrial, multifamily residential, agricultural, and single-family residential uses. The proposed density of under 1 unit per acre is, the proposed density is consistent with the surrounding residential densities, and therefore the proposal meets policy 1.4 of the future land use element regarding compatibility. The subject property is in the urban service area where 80% or more of new growth is to be directed for the comprehensive plan. While the proposal meets the intent of Objective 1 of the future land use element of the comprehensive plan by providing growth within the urban service area, the proposed plan development does not meet the minimum density required of 4 dwelling units per acre for properties within the urban service area. However, the site is entirely located within the coastal high hazard area and meets the criteria that allows for less than 75% of the allowable maximum density per the plan category. The proposed density is approximately 1 dwelling unit per gross acre with lot sizes comparable to the ones that surround them, and therefore the proposal is consistent with policies 1.2 and 1.3 of the future land use element. The request is consistent with several goals found in the Ruskin Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. It provides 3 single-family lots that are consistent with existing development in the surrounding area, which supports Ruskin's Goal 5 of protecting its small-town character and South Shore's Goal 4 of maintaining housing opportunities for all income groups. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have a summary by the zoning hearing master.
The zoning hearing master considered the request for rezoning of approximately 3 acres from plan development to a new plan development to permit a maximum of 3 dwelling units. A companion, I'm making sure I'm on the right one. Okay. Companion minor modification is currently being processed to remove the subject 3.156 acres from the existing PD 16-1336 zoning district with no variations or waivers requested. As you've heard, the Planning Commission staff found that the request does not meet the minimum density requirement. However, the parcel qualifies for an exception due to its location within the coastal high hazard area. And the Planning Commission staff otherwise found the rezoning request to be compatible with the surrounding land uses and consistent with the plan. The zoning hearing master, following the hearing, found that the rezoning proposed to plan development for 3 dwelling units is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the code and serves to provide a compatible land use in the area. The zoning hearing master therefore recommended approval.
Thank you. And we will not take a vote on this yet until we hear from about G1B, and then we'll take a combined vote because G1B is necessary for this to happen. So let's go to G1B. Mr. Grady.
Yes, G1, Brian Grady, Development Services. G1B is a minor modification to Plan Development 16-1336. The purpose of the minor modification is to show removal of the 3.16 acre parcel that was associated with the rezoning of item G1A. The site plan here shows those three lots proposed to be rezoned a new PD with existing planned development that will remain, and again, which is approved for industrial uses and is currently being constructed with a medical manufacturing facility. Staff did find the request approval with conditions and are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have another opportunity for the applicant to present.
This is Constance Silver again. I have reviewed the staff report and conditions of approval, and again, have no objections, and we're just here for questions.
Thank you very much. And is there any proponent in the room who wants to testify in support?
No one in the audience.
Anyone in opposition?
No one in the audience.
Okay, then no need for a rebuttal, and we'll, at this point, unless Development Services has anything to add, we can take a motion to pertain to both of these, G1 and G2, G1A and G1B.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Kemp, second by Commissioner Myers, and seeing no further discussion, please record your vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Hagen's a yes.
Oh, yes.
To do a roll call.
I'm sorry. We're going to need a roll call. I should realize that. We're going to need a roll call vote now that we have hybrid participation.
Okay, so Commissioner Hagan is here?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you voted yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can edit the vote for you.
Okay. So that's unanimous, 6-0, or do we all
So
need?
the motion carried 6-0.
Thank you very much, Mr. Streeter. Okay, and we'll move now to item G2, starting with G2A, and Mr. Grady.
The next items are related items. We have 4 related items that are G2A, G2B, G2C, and G2D. As with the previous item, we can take a testimony on the G2A, 2B, C, and D, and then after presentation of those 4 items, a vote could be taken on G2A, G2B, and G2D. With respect to G2C, this is the first of 2 public hearings, so therefore, while a public hearing will be conducted on G2C, the vote would occur at the second public hearing, which is scheduled for June 7th. So the first 2 items, G2A and G2B, the first item, G2A, is rezoning to Plan Development 21-0959, the Applicant Lennar Homes LLC. The request is rezoning to PD for a project permitting single-family and or townhomes. Michelle Heinrich with county staff will provide a brief overview of the proposal.
Good morning, Michelle Heinrich, Development Services.
PD 210959 is a rezoning request for approximately 74 acres of property within the Waimama community to allow a maximum of 299 units as permitted by the site's future land use category of Res 4. The site is located within the now established Waimama downtown overlay. However, it was filed prior to the effective date of those regulations. As Mr. Grady stated, there are companion applications to this, which includes a right-of-way vacation, which is proposed within this project. The project proposes a variety of lot sizes for single-family attached and detached uses. Comparable development is approved and or developed within the area. Properties to the north and southeast are vacant and also within the Res 4 future land use category. The site to the north is designated as the Waimama Scrub, an approved ELAP site. An essential wildlife habitat is found within the northeast corner of the subject property, which is proposed to be preserved and will not permit homes or any road construction. Lastly, the project has demonstrated compliance with the roadway connectivity requirements of the Waimama Community Plan. Based on these considerations, staff recommends approval subject to proposed conditions, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. So we can hear from the applicant at this time.
Thank you. Rebecca Kurt with Brooks, Shepherd, and Rocha, 400 North Tampa Street. Can we pull up our PowerPoint? I'm here along with Michael Brooks of our firm representing Lennar Homes on this project. We have with us Parker Hirons and Chelsea Hardy from Lennar Homes, and as well as our team of experts that testified before the zoning hearing master. We have support from your planning staff, the Planning Commission, and the zoning hearing master. I did want to note that we met several times out in the community, both early in the process and late in the process, so that we were able to take in the community input. We are proud of this project and the positive synergy that we believe it's going to have with the community. Next slide, please. This slide will help orient you to the project. We are the red square. The yellow line shows that we are within the Waimama Village planning area. The blue line shows that we are also within the urban service area, and the dark blue shading shows that we are outside of the Waimama Village rural land use area. Next slide, please. We have zoomed in now so you can see the project area. It is approximately 75 acres of assemblage of land. The current uses are vacant and agricultural uses, except for a single family home located adjacent to Westlake Drive. You will notice that the project is basically a rectangle except a small notch, which we are calling the Notch Project. At the time that we came in with our rezoning, we did not have a contract on that particular parcel. That parcel has now come in for rezoning. It's approximately 5 acres. If this project is approved and that future rezoning is approved, these two projects together will be able to come in as a unified development, and that's condition 8 in your conditions. Next slide, please. This slide shows the environmental issues and the environmental solutions that we were able to come up with on this site. You will see that we have 0.68 approximately acres of delineated wetlands with the appropriate buffer. Delineation has been approved. We also have a very large 14-acre habitat preservation area in the northeast corner of the site, which is approximately 18 acres of the entire project. Next slide, please. You will see from this that we had on site the Florida scrub jay, the Florida golden aster, and some potentially occupied gopher tortoise areas, which meant that we had essential wildlife habitat that we had to protect. Next slide, please. This slide is going to show you what was months and months and months of expert work with your staff and the federal agencies to try and determine how best to protect on site what was there. So we have this area protects the essential wildlife habitat under your code. It protects the observed Florida scrub jay territory plus an additional 50-foot buffer. It protects the golden aster locations with an additional 200-foot buffer for each golden aster plant. It protects the observed gopher tortoise burrows. In addition, there's conditions that if there are further gopher tortoises found during the development of this project, they will be relocated to our preservation area. Next slide, please. This is just showing an overview of your future land use map. We are within the Res 4 future land use category and adjacent to some Res 6, and again, within the urban service area. Next slide, please. The overall request is to change from agricultural rural to a planned development with no associated variations or waivers for approval of 299 single-family residential units detached and or attached at a density of 4 units an acre, which is consistent with the comp plan category. Next slide, please. This is an overall view of our site plan, and really what we wanted to show here was the interconnectivity, which we know is so important to the community and to this board. We have interconnectivity from Westlake Drive all the way over to Roosevelt. We also have a north-south roadway that's providing interconnectivity to future development. This is not a gated community. It is open and public roads. The fourth item in this grouping is a vacating petition to vacate right-of-way from a legacy plat. However, the interconnectivity is being restored through this rezoning in locations that are more appropriate with the current and future grid as it's been envisioned by Hillsborough County. Next slide, please. As Michelle had mentioned earlier, we are proposing a mix of allowed housing types that was important to the community. We have some 50 or 60 single-family detached, and we have some smaller lots which have a long list of conditions. I won't go through them, but those were the conditions. And speaking with staff, that is the expectation of this board and the community, and we are happy to meet all of those. Next slide, please. You will hear from your planning commission on the consistency with the future land use, but we were consistent with the urban service area, all of our environmental considerations, and compatible with the surrounding land uses and open space. Next slide, please. At this point, Mr. Brooks is going to come up and explain to you one of the accompanying items, a little bit just how it touches, the development agreement touches into some of the zoning conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Kurt. For the record, Michael Brooks, Brooks, Shepherd, and Rocha, 400 North Tampa Street, Suite 1910, here in Tampa 33602. I have been sworn. So this slide was prepared for the zoning hearing master hearing. As you know, as Brian and Michelle had opened this up, the subject property and there's a school district property nearby. They're the subject of a development agreement, which is later on the agenda. That has now been negotiated, is no longer the subject of, and has been approved by the school board and executed and approved by Lennar Homes. So although that is a later item that I believe Mr. Gormley is going to give you a presentation on, wanted to briefly touch on what those improvements are and how they relate to the zoning conditions, and specifically condition 18, which are what we call the Westlake Drive improvements, and then condition 20, the intersection improvements at Westlake Drive and 674. Those conditions of approval require Lennar Homes to construct those offsite improvements that are frankly at a scale and a scope that are far beyond the impacts of the project, but have been agreed to as a condition of the development agreement. If the development agreement is not approved, then the intersection improvements are tied to that. And so the conditions provide that that improvement does not have to be constructed, and if the development agreement is not approved, the Westlake improvements do get reduced from Bishop Road all the way to 674 to the project entrance to 674. But with that overview, I think what you really want to hear is what are those improvements. And I'm going to have Steve Henry from Links and Associates to come up and talk to you about this. Next slide.
Good afternoon, Steve Henry, Links and Associates, 5023 West Laurel, Tampa 33607. Real briefly on the improvements, as Mr. Brook had indicated, the improvements go from 674 down to Bishop Road on Westlake Drive. Next slide, please. And so what we're proposing there is on Westlake Drive, we're proposing a 11-foot lanes with curb and gutter, and then on each side of the road, we're proposing a 10-foot path. This is instead of what would you typically see on a urban roadway, which are the bike lanes. Because you've got schools down there, the idea was to provide these 10-foot paths on both sides of the road for the school, and being that that's safer for the school students to be able to go along the roadway than having bikes and students within the bike lanes of the road. And again, as you can see on the bottom, it's going to go, that section will go from 674 down to Bishop Road. Next slide, please. Then in addition to that, what we're proposing are specific improvements to the intersection of Westlake and 674. And that includes, one is the signalization of the intersection, and then two, we're going to be adding a northbound left, a northbound right, and then extending the east and westbound left turn lanes, and in addition to that, adding a eastbound right turn lane. And that way with that, and then also adding a southbound right turn lane. So with those, that will allow the intersection to operate acceptable level of service with not only our project, but then also with the school traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry just summed up very quickly in about 90 seconds what was probably about 9 months worth of work. I think it's ultimately going to be a fantastic improvement to the area. Next slide. I'm going to go ahead and give a conclusion slide here because I know that these, as the item comes up, they're going to be somewhat staggered. There have been findings in the record that we're consistent with the Res 4 future land use category, consistent with the land development code without variance or waivers. You've heard about compatibility. Development Services recommend approval subject to changes that have been made by the general development plan and are now part of the certified plan in your package. Planning Commission has found it consistent with the comprehensive plan, including the Waimama Community Village Plan. And as I mentioned, the applicant has already agreed to the conditions and certifications of approval.
Thank
that are
you,
now in
Mr.
your package.
Brooks. Your time is over. Well done. And
Thank you.
from here, we ask for any proponents in the audience,
No one in the audience.
any opponents.
No one in the audience.
Mr. Brooks, you have 5 minutes of rebuttal time. Did you need to do anything else to clean up?
Not so much cleanup, but if I could just take another 30 or 40 seconds. I do want to recognize, as I mentioned, this project has been a long and technically difficult journey. We're almost a year to get to this point. There were times where we didn't think that we would be here. Many people inside the county administration and the staff that I won't mention for fear of missing someone out, but I do want to give a shout out to Steve Smith, who's the division president. I believe he's watching online. Parker Hirons, who is in the audience, he's the vice president of land, and Chelsea Hardy, who is also here, the entitlement managers, who gave us the latitude to work with the school board and work with the county to put together what is a very complicated and lengthy endeavor. Which we think is just overall was the right thing to do in this particular situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning Commission staff?
Thank you, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the Residential 4 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area and also located within the limits of the Waimama Community Plan. The intent of the Residential 4 future land use category is to designate areas that are suitable for low-density residential development. The proposed use for up to 299 single-family dwelling units is consistent with the Residential 4 future land use category. The subject property is in the urban service area where 80% or more of growth is to occur as directed by the comprehensive plan. The proposal meets the intent of Objective 1 and Policies 1.2 and 1.4 of the future land use element by providing growth within the urban service area. The proposed plan development meets the minimum density required for properties within the urban service area by providing 299 single-family residential units on 74.75 acre site, which is consistent with the density expected in this category. In order to preserve the wetlands and the wildlife habitat on the property, the plan development proposes to cluster the development with the residential units with varying lot size. To screen the residential units from surrounding properties, a 6-foot fence is proposed around the perimeter of the site. Additionally, the retention areas and the wildlife habitat preservation area will serve as natural buffers, and the application is consistent with policy direction in the future land use element regarding clustering to preserve natural areas. The subject property is surrounded by predominantly agricultural uses and low-density single-family neighborhoods in each of the residential 4 and residential 6 future land use categories. The applicant is proposing an internal circulation and street stub outs to connect to adjacent neighborhoods, while also being sensitive to the environmentally sensitive lands on site. This meets the intent of the future land use element policy 16.7, as well as the Waimama Community Plan Goal 5. The request is also consistent with Goal 2 of the Waimama Community Plan, as there is a large focus on open spaces, which include a community gathering space, a wetland conservation area, retention areas, and a wildlife habitat preservation area. The request is also consistent with Goal 6 of the Community Plan, as the proposal fosters an economically integrated community by not being gated and provides housing to accommodate a diverse population and income level by providing various style residential units. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the zoning hearing master recommendation.
The zoning hearing master considered the request for rezoning of 79.9 acres from agricultural rural to planned development to permit a maximum of 299 dwelling units, single-family attached and or detached. No planned development variations or waivers are requested. As you've heard, the Planning Commission staff has found the request to be compatible with the surrounding land uses and consistent with both the Waimama Community Plan and the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan. The zoning hearing master found that the rezoning to plan development for 299 dwelling units is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land development code and provides for a compatible land use in the area. And the zoning hearing master therefore recommended approval of the request.
Thank you. And we'll have a little board discussion starting with Commissioner Kemp.
Are we going to move? I didn't know if G2B.
We don't vote on anything until we're all the way through A, B, C, and D. But we can have, did you, okay.
I could do it at the end, but I guess right now, for the record, I was just going to say I'm very impressed with what Lennar Homes has done. And I can hear how much it took to so carefully, I think, put forward a development plan for this community. And it sounds as if the staff was very involved in this too, obviously. And so to all the parties, just to see that there were, such attention given to what we have asked for in terms of development in this area, including a grid, preservation area with attention to the golfer tortoises, the gold master, the wildlife preservation, the units with mixed housing, middle housing. It looks like, no waivers requested. It'll be hard, like it always is, for 299 units of housing where there was none, and the kinds of impacts that will have. But I think if we're talking about how this was done, I have to say, well done and impressive. And I thought I just had mine on there for after, I guess, the whole presentation, but as long as we've gone to this part, I just, to me, this looks like very much what I've been asking for and interested in seeing in terms of development in that area. So I just want to say I'm very, very pleased, and I think, I think this could even be a model for how we move forward.
Thank you. And seeing no other board members, I do want to also congratulate everyone involved in this, and starting with Lennar, the applicant, and their representatives, because we just put the Waimama community through 2 years of really a lot of work of planning, and I think this development, this is one of the first ones to come forward after that, really shows a great respect, and I agree, it is a model for ticking all the boxes of community outreach. If you notice in the backup, they had a couple of meetings with some community leaders, and then they had a full-on community meeting, and from that, we've got letters in the case file of support. There was testimony at the zoning hearing master of support, and that just really shows the respect shown to the community and the willingness to work together with the community. But the end partnership of our county staff and natural resources, transportation planners, our development services staff, the planning commission, all working together with the applicant, with the public, I think has resulted in, this is our first example of a Mufasa for the road improvements.
Translation?
All that discussion of what Mufasa is, here we are seeing the benefits of that. And, I just think there was a lot of attention to detail and a lot of work on the essential habitat map. Every single golden aster is marked in that essential habitat. And, if you ever see a golden aster in the wild, it's not something you're going to make a prom corsage out of. But it is worth protecting because it only occurs here. It's an endangered species, federally endangered, state endangered. It only occurs here and in 4 or 5 other counties around here. And so it is important to protect that, as well as the scrub jay habitat and the gopher tortoise habitat, and the extent to which that is protected here with buffers, 50-foot buffers all around. I am just very pleased to see that. I have, just for the record, one question about the gopher tortoise habitat. And I guess this is probably for the applicant. So we're protecting all the burrows, the gopher tortoise actual burrows that we've seen in this essential scrub habitat area that is being protected. But there was a little note in the applicant presentation about any other gopher tortoises found would be relocated. And I just want to confirm for the record that means they would be relocated to this essential habitat preservation site on site, if possible. Does the applicant want to answer that, or?
Rebecca Kurt, Legal Department for the applicant. Yes, that is correct. They will be relocated to the preservation area.
And that is just awesome, that they would be relocated on site. So we're keeping these gopher tortoises in the area. While you're there, how will the residents be informed of these protected species in this protected habitat? So will there be some signage or anything in addition to how will the buffer be maintained so the residents understand this is not, that this is a special place?
Madam Smith, this is, for the record again, Michael Brooks. So the buffer, I'll answer your last question first. The buffer will be shown on the plat. So at the time we go through preliminary platting, of course, we won't have any impacts to that buffer. As you all know, Lennar is a home builder. They're not a maintainer of environmentally sensitive land. We will do what is required by, of course, local and state and federal law, because you pointed out that both the scrub jays and the golden asters are endangered species. But ultimately, there is ELAP designated land to the north, and we could foresee this land being lumped into part of an ELAP acquisition.
Thank you. Thank you. That would make sense. And, you know, I'm also very pleased. It just seems like there was a lot of care taken by staff and the applicant to understand so many of the things we've been looking for the connectivity and the connection to the south, although that connection can't be made yet, and it'll be a stub out with a cul-de-sac until it will connect. There's a condition in the zoning that says the developer, it's condition 28, that says the developer shall place signage which identifies roadway stub outs as a future roadway connection. Hopefully that will avoid the kind of neighborhood confusion that we have about whether or not their roads are going to connect through at a later date. And that applies even to the south stub out as well, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see that. Now, one last question about the road improvements, because there was some place, I read through this very, very thoroughly, and there were some places that the 10-foot trail on both sides of Westlake Drive was referred to as a sidewalk, a 10-foot sidewalk. But in fact, on the plans in other places, multiple places, it's shown as an asphalt trail. So for the record, it's going to be an asphalt trail?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, asphalt trail.
Because there's a big difference between even a wide sidewalk with the seams and everything to an asphalt paved trail. So I just want to make sure of that and just say I'm very happy to see that as well on both sides. Sometimes we have people telling us they only need to do it on one side. They only own one side. I'm really pleased to see the applicant willing to do this the entire length from 674 to Bishop Road on both sides. I mean, it just shows what can be done when people work together to honor the community's wish and the wish of the staff and the county direction. So I'm very pleased to see all the attention to detail here and the respect for the community, and that has gained community support in the backup from the community leaders who have been intimately involved with the community plan and the CDC from the get-go. So well done. And seeing no further discussion, we'll move on to G2B.
The next item is G2B. It's Major Mod Application 21-1342. The applicant's Hillsborough County School Board. The property is located at the northwest corner of Westlake Drive and Brigham Avenue. The request is for a major modification to the PD to add a second development option to allow for pre-K through 12th grade. Michelle Heinrich with county staff will provide a brief presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Michelle Heinrich, Development Services. This is major modification 21-1342, which modifies PD 14-0319, which is currently approved for 400 single-family units. This request seeks a second development option to allow for the establishment of up to 3 public schools on the site. The site is located in the Res 4 future land use category and is not subject to the Waimama downtown overlay, given that it was filed prior to the overlay's effective date. LDC Section 6.03.10 excludes public schools from compliance with various development standards as they are instead addressed by the state building code. However, the project is not at an intensity that exceeds the future land use category, and the applicant has agreed to screening and setback requirements from Lake Waimama to meet the compatibility policies of the comprehensive plan. The connectivity policies of the Waimama Community Plan are met with the dedication of right-of-way along the southern and eastern PD boundaries to allow access around the school site. Staff recommends approval subject to proposed conditions, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. And now we'll have the applicant.
Good morning, Isabel Albert for the record with Half Associates, 1000 North Ashley Drive, representing the school board. I feel this was such a glorified approval from you all, and I'm glad to say that I'm part of it. And it was a lot of work, tri-party work, which first time going through that. So I don't think this would be feasible without Lennar and also Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County also does deserve a lot of the credit for this. So as Michelle explained, this request is for a elementary school through high school and to serve the community. We have met, as you stated, with lots of community leaders as well as with county staff in order to meet some of the requests, which made sense in order to make this project feasible for the area. Really, I don't have anything much to say. I understand that Adam Gormley is going to go through the development agreement after that. But if you have any questions for me, I'm available. Michael Yates is also here with me if you have any transportation questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Albert. And is there any member of the public who wishes to speak to this in support?
No one in the audience.
Seeing none, anyone who wishes to speak in opposition?
No one in the audience.
Okay, and you know, while we're on kind of public comment, I know I read through the letters in the case file. There was one citizen who was supportive of the general plan, but asked an interesting question I would like to ask of the applicant maybe at this time, well, there was a couple of things. First of all, there was an impression, not only in this case file, but in the other one by another letter too, that it still might be possible for the applicant to work with the community for a county park to happen on the Lake Waimama, on this site where the school campus is planned. But on the site plan for the school campus, there's nothing but stormwater ponds all along the lakefront. And the citizens have pointed out that there is otherwise no public access to this Lake Waimama in their community. And they have asked for this in kind of access and community park on the lake in some way in their community plan. And it sure would seem like a missed opportunity to shut the door on any lakeside park while we're zoning a school site when the residents have been longing for, through their community plan process, and we're having public school, to shut the door on that hope for a public park on the lake. Ms. Albert, do you have anything to say about that concern or question?
Absolutely, absolutely. As we stated, we've had numerous meetings with the community representative as well as with Hillsborough County, and one of them was Parks and Recs Department. The community has expressed that access to the lake. You know, they were saying that there's no access to the lake, and they wanted some kind of access to the lake. The school board is not in the business of operating parks, so that's why we were in discussion with the Hillsborough County Parks and Rec Department. And, we came to an agreement that we will dedicate definitely an easement for that access to the park. And that at the time that the county has sufficient money to invest into this such park. And it was really an access to the lake, whether it's going to be a deck or something like that, but that's what they wanted to do. And we provided these two accesses on the site plan. And unfortunately, this site plan is fuzzy, but there is an easement, and I believe it's also part of the condition. So there's one on the northeast and one on the northwest, and there's an easement that allows this. And the time that the park, like I said, when the county has money to invest, then that would be something they would work with the community.
Thank you. That is, I think that's a very good solution, and I understand that the Parks Department, would have to be involved, and it's not the school's job nor your job, but that easement seems like the best possible solution, so at least the door is not shut on that possibility. And there was one last question about connectivity to the eastern neighborhood. The site plan shows a bicycle pedestrian access to east to Hillsborough Street. So I think there was a question about if the school option is not used and the residential option is built instead, it wouldn't be able to be gated. I mean, I realize that's not what we're contemplating here. We're all optimistic that this is going to be a school site, but having seen sometimes where there's an option A and an option B, and sometimes option B falls through for whatever reason, seeing that there is this residential option, if the residential option would be built, it would have to be built under the Waimama Community Plan, and in that case, could not be gated because the Waimama Community Plan has, since its inception, prohibited gated communities. Am I correct?
Commissioner, first of all, we are fully anticipating that the schools
Right.
will be built there. I don't believe that the existing approval requires or provides for these roads to be private. So in the event that it were to develop with the residential uses, we would be looking for guidance from the Waimama Community Plan about the public nature of those roadways.
Thank you. I'm just trying to be very careful about every single little detail since everyone has worked so hard for the last couple of years to get us here. And I just want to make sure that we really are not going to be surprised by anything down the road. So that's it for me, Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you for that question. I just say it kind of pinched me. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of amazing to, I feel almost like dreaming, like I'm dreaming
Mm-hmm.
of the kind of, work that a developer would be doing, quite honestly, and the cooperation to create this. It looks outstanding. And I'll just say, because I know that we need apparent need for many schools in South County for all the populations that are coming or are already there right now. Again, I'm very pleased that we were able to increase our impact fees so that we could start to address this in a reasonable manner. I have been really focused a lot on school requirements and how we could possibly build schools as placemakers and contributors to the community. And this is quite a big school complex because it's 100 acres and it's elementary school, middle school, and high school as it's now outlined. And I'll just, the way we do it now is by interlocal agreement. I understand other places which I've looked at have some from the county. And I'm speaking particularly about Orange County because I was really looking at they were doing when I was spending time being kind of frustrated by where we seem to have issues here in Hillsborough County. And one of and I don't know because we're not knowing kind of the footprint of how these schools are going or how they're planned. But I would just say at this time, with the development and the needs that we have in the county, I would hope that all of our county school buildings would look at taking up a smaller footprint in that makes it more walkable. When you have single-story schools that are spread widely, it's kind of like suburban development that isn't very walkable and compact. And I would urge, and I don't know what the plan is, but I'd urge that we look at, I think it's always best to have 2 or even 3-story schools to minimize the school footprint, because those make the areas more walkable. The frontage needed for single story, huge numbers of classrooms, it just doesn't make sense to me at this time, knowing what our needs are and have been, to do anything else. So I'll just, because that is what we're here with, but I had also looked at the acreage that the schools in Orange County, which is very similar population-wise and in every other way to us, and they were looking at, they already had much smaller acreage designations than we apparently have, even though ours is not codified. And then they went to much smaller than that. So again, I'll just urge consideration of that on the part of the school administration that does this design, because I think it would be a perfect complement to, I think, what is a very strong development that's been put in place.
Thank you. And since the applicant was so brief, and since we've taken into consideration some of the public comment and ideas from commissioners, I'll offer the applicant a few minutes of their rebuttal time if they have anything to add to that discussion. I see her hurrying.
For the record, Isabel Albert, no, unless you have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to check. All right. Planning Commission staff.
Thank you, Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is located within the Residential 4 future land use category. The site is located in the urban service area and also located within the limits of the Waimama Community Plan. The applicant requests to modify PD 14-0319 to add a second development option for an elementary, middle, and high school campus. The PD is currently approved for 400 dwelling units with a minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. The intent of the Residential 4 future land use category is to designate areas that are suitable for low-density residential development. The proposed use is consistent with the Residential 4 future land use category, as well as Future Land Use Element Policy 17.1, which allows residential support uses in all residential land use plan categories. Existing land uses immediately surrounding the property include single-family residential, agricultural land, and Lake Waimama to the north. The proposed school campus is a residential support use and is listed as a need in the Waimama Community Plan under Goal 8. The site will be designed with 3 separate school buildings, internal circulating roadways, sidewalks, and playing fields. The site will be surrounded by fencing as a safety measure and to provide a buffer from the surrounding properties. There is a gated bike and pedestrian access point on the east and south sides of the campus, and vehicular ingress and egress points on the west side. The proposal is consistent with the neighborhood protection policies and compatibility policies as found in the future land use element of the comprehensive plan. To address future land use element policy 16.16 and the school's location close to the lake, the school board has committed to set back school buildings at least 150 feet from the lake. In addition, the school board will be providing a row of evergreen shade trees, which will not be less than 10 feet in height at the time of planting, a minimum of 2-inch caliber, and are spaced not more than 50 feet apart. The trees are to be planted between the school structures and the lake where no vegetation exists. Due to the site's location on the lake, through streets that are every 1,320 feet are not feasible due to environmental constraints. The school use also has operational and safety restrictions that limit access to the campus, which does not make it feasible for through roads. However, to contribute toward the intent of the transportation goal in the Wimauma Community Plan, the school board has committed to dedicating land for future rights-of-way on the southern and eastern boundaries of the site, providing an opportunity for connections to the neighborhoods to the east and to the south, should the county pursue it. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed major modification consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Thank you. And from here, we have a zoning hearing master recommendation.
Yes. The zoning hearing master considered the proposed major modification to Plan Development 14319, which is currently approved for 400 single-family residential dwelling units. The major modification request proposes to add a second development option for a school campus, which could include an elementary, middle, and high school. No waivers or plan development variation requests have been made. Testimony in support of the request was provided at the hearing by a representative of the Wimauma Community Development Corporation, who stated that his group has been working with the school district and appreciates the proposed access easement to the lake. The citizen requested a meeting with the school district prior to the Board of County Commissioners meeting to discuss a possible passive park. And the applicant's representative replied that they would be working to schedule the meeting as requested prior to the board meeting. Testimony in opposition was provided by citizens at the zoning hearing master. The testimony focused on the impact of traffic from the proposed schools on adjacent roadways and asked that a traffic signal be installed. Concerns were raised regarding access to the south by an adjacent property owner. Development Services Department staff replied that the zoning conditions require a traffic signal at the intersection of State Road 674 and Westlake Drive, as well as other intersection improvements. The applicant representative testified that there will be no vehicle access from the subject property to the south. And the site plan shows an access point to the south restricted to bicycle and pedestrian access only. The zoning hearing master, following the zoning hearing master hearing, found the proposed modification for a second development option for a school campus that could include an elementary, middle, and high school, which are considered residential support uses, to be compatible with the surrounding zoning and development pattern. The zoning hearing master concluded that the modification is consistent with the comprehensive plan and land development code and recommended approval.
Thank you. And so we don't take any vote on this at this time. And seeing no further discussion, we can move to G2C. Commissioner Kemp, were you turning? Okay. We can move to G2C for the developer agreement.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item G2C is a public hearing to consider a development agreement that will do several things. And I'll just say this agreement will pull together some of the concepts you've heard for both 2A and G2B. The first element of the development agreement is it will serve as a mobility fee alternative satisfaction agreement, the MUFASA. What this will do is it will provide for the pooling of several projects' mobility fees, several Lennar projects' mobility fees, and those will go to fund the intersection improvements at 674 and Westlake Drive. Those improvements, as Mr. Henry described earlier, will entail signalization of the intersection, adding turn lanes, and extending existing turn lanes. We identified that this improvement was necessary in order to provide for the capacity to handle the impacts of the school that would be proposed, as well as Lennar's project. And that is in addition to the improvements to Westlake Drive that will be done by Lennar as part of its zoning conditions. The second element of the development agreement is that it will serve as a school concurrency proportionate share mitigation agreement between Lennar and the school district. In that regard, it will function much like the prop share agreements you've seen before you, provide for payment of fee to mitigate the impacts of the students that will go to fund the schools that are being proposed on the Westlake campus. The last element of this agreement is it serves as a cost-sharing agreement between the school district and Lennar. The school district has some requirements with their siting for site access improvements of Westlake Drive that are adjacent to the site, as well as providing a signal at their main project entrance to handle project traffic. While what the agreement calls for is while Lennar is doing work to improve Westlake and improve the intersection, those improvements that would benefit the school access would be done as well, and along with some utility extensions that will serve the school. And that work will then be reimbursed by the school district to Lennar for those costs. We think it's a very good efficiency measure, have one contractor working at one time, and believe it would achieve some economies of scale as well as timing. This is the first reading for this development agreement. There was no vote necessary taken today. The second agreement will be scheduled for the June 7th land use meeting, at which point it'll be in order for the board to vote on. And I'd just like to take a moment as well to recognize that this has been a very good collaborative effort. It's taken a lot of coordination, collaboration between the county, the school district, and Lennar. Many people were involved: county administration, county staff, county attorney's office, school district and their professionals, Lennar and their professionals, and I think it was a really good example of something that we'll look to build on in the future to try to solve some of the challenging problems that we have in a way that leverages opportunities that are presented to us. So really like to thank everybody's assistance and particularly recognize the school district for identifying a single location to cite 3 schools, and that has helped us really gain some efficiencies in providing for the necessary infrastructure. That concludes
Thank
the
you.
presentation.
It's just I mean, when I first was being briefed on this, it's a marvel of complexity and negotiations. I mean, you go from here to negotiating peace in our time, I think, to have brought all of this together, and very much appreciated. So we do open for any public comment at this time, and ask if there's anyone in the audience who want to comment on in this public hearing. It is a public hearing.
No one's indicating a desire to speak.
Great. So we will then close the public hearing and have the second hearing as indicated on June 7th.
Yes.
Okay. And the final piece of this Gordian knot is item G2D, the vacating of the petition. Mr. Grady, you want to take us through that?
Yes, the final item then is G2D, which is a public hearing vacating petition V22-0003. I believe Carrie Allen with Real Estate will present this item for staff. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Item G2D today is vacate ID V22-0003. This is a petition by Westlake LLC and Maritza and Gary Pippin to vacate portions of unimproved platted public right-of-way within the plat of Davis and Dowdell addition to Town of Wamama and the plat of Halifax, both recorded in Plat Book 1, page 136 of the Public Records of Hillsborough County. The petitioners have submitted this vacate request in support of redeveloping and rezoning the area into a residential subdivision. As part of the redevelopment of the area, the subject unimproved right-of-way will be replaced with new and appropriately placed right-of-way, which is determined through the subdivision and platting process. The proposed vacate area is generally located north of Bishop Road, west of South County Road 579, and south of State Road 674 in Wamama, and consists of approximately 138,095 square feet, or 3.170 acres. This petition was routed to appropriate departments and agencies, and there are no objections to the vacation of these portions of right-of-way. Staff recommends approval of this petition request.
Thank you. And this also is a public hearing. So at this point, we'll open the public hearing for public comment. Is there anyone in the room there who wishes to speak to this item? We would have 3 minutes.
No one identifying the desire to speak in the audience.
Okay, thank you. So we'll close the public hearing. This one only requires one public hearing, correct? So we'll finish up today by looking for either a combined motion and vote on items G2A, G2B, and G2D, leaving G2C for June 7th. So can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
And a motion by Commissioner Kemp, second by Commissioner Cohen, and we will have this vote verbally because we have some commissioners participating virtually.
Overman? Cullen?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, and congratulations, everyone. All right, from here we do section I, one last item on the agenda today, and Planning Commission staff will introduce that item.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Melissa Zornita, Planning Commission Executive Director. I'll be very brief. There is a requirement in state statute that every 7 years, the local government must evaluate its comprehensive plan to determine if any plan amendments are necessary to bring your comprehensive plan up to the requirements of state statute. This was last conducted in 2015, and therefore the next letter notifying the state of whether or not our comprehensive plan complies with state statute is due June 1st of this year. The Planning Commission has reviewed all of the changes to state law that have occurred since 2015 and verified that the comprehensive plan is in compliance with those. And therefore, a letter is before you to authorize the chair to sign, indicating that the comprehensive plan is in compliance with state law. The statute is very clear that this is different from the comprehensive update to the comp plan that we're undertaking, and we've been pleased to bring many sections forward of, and still have a few that we're working through this calendar year. But this is distinct from that. The question is pretty narrow as to whether or not we comply with statute. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move approval of the letter.
Second.
Thank you. I see no further discussion. We got a motion to approve by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Kemp. We'll take a roll call vote.
Cullen?
Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Kemp?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. And seeing no further business before us and no board members wishing to raise anything, we will adjourn.
This town sound is messed up. Do y'all really think you're going to have a world-class city? I'm talking to those detractors that don't want it. If you want it, pay for it. It's just that simple. You got to pay for it. If